Go where?
Go home. Oh, wait.
now.
You are already.
We're looking at it's a nice setup, man.
I mean, I do what I can for free.
Just me and Travis. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
And Doc Roy's not with us tonight. So since Doc Roy doesn't drink at all, I just decided we'd start with bourbon rather than have a bourbon somewhere midway through.
I mean,
things could go hideously awry really quick.
Bourbon and eggs. It's okay. Like my breakfast. No, I don't know.
Wow, that's advanced. That is pretty impressive.
Cut a hole in the toast. Put your bourbon in there. Oh, wait. That's not how it goes. Sorry.
Wait a minute. That's some kind of aren't you supposed to put the egg in the toast?
You are.
What is that?
That was something in a basket. Egg, chicken in a blanket.
No, that's a different thing.
That's the only thing. Chicken in a basket?
No.
Egg
what is that? Things we should have researched before.
Yeah, probably. We haven't even been drinking that much. So just so everybody knows, this is the first one.
That was my first sip.
Yeah.
That's all it took.
Yeah, but if anybody at Woodford is watching, this is for you. If you want to give us free stuff, that's what I was saying before.
We'll start off with just send us free bourbon.
We will work for bourbon.
And we'll work for bourbon.
Well, anyway, hello everybody.
We're not cheap, but we do have a price.
No, right? I guess
the price is free bourbon.
Oh well, yeah, but it's not that cheap, but
that's true.
Depends on what it is. So,
well, we didn't really have much medical stuff to talk about this week. We covered a lot of it last week, so I figured me and Travis would just sit down. So, welcome to Unite the Divided podcast. This is number 68. This is October 15th of 2025. Me and Travis sat down about a month or so ago, just the two of us, for our inaugural. The two of us. So I figured, I don't want to waste Dr. Roy's time in some of these things because there's my first there it is. I don't want to waste his time on some of this stuff because it's really not his expertise, and I don't, some of these things that we are going to talk about today, I think, is more me trying to air out. There's the second one where
if you stop saying
where I know.
No one will notice as much.
Well, I want to get it right and not do it anymore because it's just a waste of a word. We can go many different directions today. One of the things you and I talk about a lot is education, and
as my father likes to say, edumacation.
Edumacation. I'm not educated. We definitely have a system, a structure in education, a public education that it seems intentional. I don't want to say it is intentional, but it seems intentionally dumbed us down in many aspects. One of the things as learning about Bitcoin and thinking about what is money, that question that comes up a lot. I don't think we really have had that conversation. We don't have that conversation enough at the basic level with our kids, with ourselves in grade school, middle school, on through. We all need to be much more educated in what money is, what the dollar is, what it represents, why we have it. Because the only way we can understand what has happened to our money and why we have inflation and starting to assemble some planning and some strategies to bring back our monetary system to a point where we're not debasing everything, we're not losing money, we're working harder and harder, and yet we're not able to afford things because the price of things have gone up so much, or how much we make per hour or how much we make per salary have not caught up or kept up with the price of living. And so we just like kind of hamsters on a wheel, and we're just turning and turning and turning. So I think we're gonna get into that. If you have an initial comment on that,
yeah. I don't know if I sent you the clip I'm thinking of. I know I sent you a few clips this past week, but there was one that I saw around that same time I was sending you clips where a gentleman didn't really reflect, but he went over the amount of currency in circulation versus the population and how dramatically different those two numbers are. So our population, and this was from, I wish I could remember the year, maybe 1980 or something like that, somewhere in there, 80 or 90. Anyway, from whatever time he was talking about to now, our population has grown by 50%. So whatever, say it was, man, I can't remember. Like it was 7 million before, so we're at like 10.5 million now, or whatever it is. It grew by 50%, but the amount of currency in circulation has tenfold. Has increased 10 to 12 fold. So that's kind of, I mean, that right there is sort of the debasement, the inflation, kind of what you're talking about. You've got that much more money circulating, things are going to start costing more. It's kind of like if a stock splits and divides, it's going to be worth less because there's more of it. Just like currency, it's going to be worth less because there's more of it, pretty much. But that's really all I have to say about that at the moment.
Well, it really depends. So you send me things on different platforms, and so I'm trying.
I need to unify.
I'm trying to track back that clip. I do remember you sending it.
Okay, so I did send you that one.
I'm pretty sure you did. I remember reviewing it, and
I'm pretty sure it's Facebook.
That's where I'm getting to now. I went to
Schmitty.
Let's see. You sent me a lot of this. So that's gone back too far here. October 8th. The TDS Doctor, that was a good one that you sent me.
That's not it.
Justin Stoll.
The Marissa Straight one was pretty good.
But that's the last one.
Yeah.
That's not on money.
TDS. Yeah, no, I don't think I sent you the money one.
You don't think you did?
Hang on, I'm going through them all here.
If you send it to me, I definitely will play it.
The Nobel Peace Prize one. Yeah, that one was pretty funny.
That was really good. Because we'll talk about that one before it's all said and done with people talking about Trump.
Oh, and then the last one I sent you was the Christopher Columbus thing. So, yeah, I don't have it here. So I'll search if you want to talk. I'll see if I can find it.
Well, I might just get into a clip if I can find a good starter, and we can go from there. Again, when we start, we don't ever have let's get into this first. So now I'm trying to find the right clip to get us into the money conversation. Because we could have gone the education side of it. So we
can still go education.
Let's start with education.
Yeah.
Just because I part of my intro was leading with our public education system does not properly structure us to think about things that we need to think about in a way that we need to think about and be able to fight back and use that information. So if you can share my screen, Trav, I'll try to get this clip rolling.
That looks like it's from 70.
This is Frank Zappa.
Yeah,
it's Frank
I know
Zappa,
that knows anywhere.
A long, long time ago. So Frank Zappa was a musician. Some of our older viewers might, and Travis probably.
Hey, I'm not even that old.
Well, but you're a music. You're a music.
That's true.
You're a music nut.
You think that's why I know who Zappa is?
Yeah. So is it? Can you tell us a little bit about him?
I mean, I'd have to look it up to
okay, no worries, not a big deal. Anyway, he was more of our parents' generation of musician, but was really interesting to me. It seemed like he was always kind of shunned from the limelight a little bit. Like he wasn't really. People didn't talk to him, and I think it's because of his views. He was probably so politically maligned with the mainstream and where we were going because of stuff like this. Let me share it, and then you can maybe be ready to say a little bit more about it.
Okay.
Schools train people to be ignorant with style. They give you the equipment that you need to be a functional ignoramus. American schools do not equip you to deal with things like logic. They don't give you the criteria by which to judge between good and bad in any medium or format. And they prepare you to be a usable victim for a military-industrial complex that needs manpower. As long as you're just smart enough to do a job and just dumb enough to swallow what they feed you, you're going to be all right. But if you go beyond that, you're going to have these grave doubts that give you stomach problems, headaches, make you want to go out and do something else. So I believe that schools mechanically and very specifically try and breed out any hint of creative thought in the kids that are coming up.
So what's the alternative for the parent who would agree with you?
Well, remember that the school isn't the only place that a child gets educated. If you realize that the schools are doing damage, and I believe this, I believe that schools do a lot of damage to kids, then you should do what you can at home to help give them something to counteract what's happening to them at school.
You mean encourage creativity?
Encourage them to read things other than what the school gives them. Let them feel that you as a parent want them to be smart, not just to be successful, not just to be a nice little person. that you want them to develop their thinking apparatus.
So I thought that was pretty amazing. That was pretty amazing. Looking at this video, it has to be 70s, wouldn't you say? 1981.
Okay.
So this was 1981. It's Wide Awake Media. I've got. Well, you don't have the screen on. You don't need the screen on. It doesn't matter.
All right.
So these are the types of things that show up in my feed, and I understand that the feeds are kind of feeding me what I digest and what
you've been eating before.
So my AI is learning me and what I believe, and it's feeding me the things that kind of verify those things. So I want to share things like this with you and with other people because this is kind of how I've always felt.
Oh, it immediately makes me think of Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Yeah. Well, and
the actual song, Another Brick in the Wall, sorry.
Sure.
Which is all about kids being just cranked out.
Indoctrinated.
Yeah. Cranked out in clonings pretty much.
Hey, teacher, leave our kids alone.
Yeah. Can't eat pudding if you don't eat your meat. No,
so I've often, for a very long time, thought about this and thought this way. And again, I have an education degree. I was at the end of right before I got my degree, considering becoming a teacher. Mm-hmm. So before I became accredited, started student teaching, something in me just pushed me in another way. And I could never put my finger on it really, but like everything that he said, I already do for my kids. I teach them not to follow the straight and narrow. Don't, do question authority always. Don't, one of them.
Unless it's you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do that every time.
Right. I know.
They do it every time.
That's how the kid does.
It's annoying. At the same time, I have to not push back too much. Basically,
you don't want to push it out of them. Yeah.
Basically say, look, I love your energy here. I need you to just trust me on this one. I've thought about this one a lot. So,
I've already lived this part of my life, kid.
But at the end of the day, we're dealing with not just what so he was basically the umbrella statement of we're just dumbed down, and he
cog in a wheel.
He said just smart enough to do the job and just dumb enough not to question what you're doing. Yep. And that to me is kind of, that's the hamster. They throw you in the hamster wheel. They push every kid into the same funnel, and they're just spitting out little replicas of each other. And people say, well, that's not true because
that's another brick.
You can go into education. You can go into engineering. You can go into blah, 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 blah. The fundamental education system still plops you in a chair, sits you down, obey. If you don't do this, this, and this right, you're punished or you're failing or you're whatever. So, and I understand this for a reason. You can't have chaos. You can't have kids running and jumping and doing, in a classroom scenario. But I've always kind of felt like we don't need to be sitting our kids down 6-8 hours a day and looking at a book and listening to it. Like, there's no way that you're really bringing the right information into their brain, in my opinion. And I don't really know kind of where to go with that, but except to say part of this podcast today is to always question the things that are kid, more and more kids are being homeschooled now than ever before. It was already ramping up, and I think it went crazy once COVID hit. And so once, parents started being able to work from home, and then all of a sudden they became the teachers because the schools pushed the teaching onto them, and they were like, hey, we can do this, and maybe we can go to, one income, or maybe somebody work part-time from home. And that's kind of where we are now. And I think we're still coming out. I don't know if we'll ever get fully out of that, but how we go, how do we circle back around and what do we talk about here? That I don't know. But like most of our parents could afford living on one income.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think part of that clip that you shared was we were one income families. You could buy, a person could have a
blue collar factory worker could work on just him, and his wife and children could stay at home. Like his wife could be a stay at home mother and take care of the kids and everything. Could have a house, car, food, clothes, all of it on a single income back then.
Yeah, and
that's wild.
I don't think many people think about that. Like, I don't know if it's because of their age or just that this is just the way it is. So how did we get to a point where we don't question why that changed and how we might ever get back. Like, how did we just accept the fact that now we have to both be working and generating money and paying taxes? We have to send our kids off to basically be nurtured and trained by strangers that we trust at some variable levels, hoping that they're doing the right things and giving them the tools that they need. And I know you're very engaged with your daughter, and you're trying to give her the supplement the education things that you don't think maybe she's getting at school. I do the same thing with my kids. So I don't know how we stem the tide, but I have to think with the coming wave of AI and potentially universal basic income, and maybe going back to one person working outside of the home, we could probably steer ourselves back in that direction.
We could.
I just chattered a lot, so why don't you?
That's okay. I sent you a text or a video or a link via text about a school that I noticed. I'll go back to what you were just talking about, but about a school that I came across that teaches classroom setting for like 3 or 4 hours, and then the kids work out on this large farm. And for like 3 or 4 hours, back and forth, I think is what they do. I'm not entirely sure. I can't recall. The video would show it, but it's kind of it shows that they can learn in a classroom setting for a little bit, but then learn how to like kind of work, how to care for animals, how to do kind of hardish work and that kind of thing. But anyway, as far as the one income home, as you were talking about, I mean, we may be able to get there, and some people do make enough to get there. I mean, I think really it's going to vary home to home, because I think if a household could make around 150 grand a year, that'd probably be good enough for a single income, probably. But the problem is that rarely does somebody make that much. And
and then if you're making 150, do you want the bigger home and the big nicer car?
You have to live, but you have to live in your means.
That's the thing. I don't think we have really a real understanding about what we're going to work for and what we're trying to have.
So when I say 150, and it depends on where you're at,
150 is a good number
geographically and stuff. But I think because and I only use that because I know how much my wife and I make, and it's not quite that much, and we're not. I mean, we're sort of okay, but not as okay as we kind of like to be.
Hot water heater goes out.
Till I have to get my hot water heater replaced last week. I think that would be good for like a 2,000 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath type home with a couple of domestic cars, Ford, a Chevy, whatever, with a kid or two, and then the food and clothes and everything that go along with it. I think that's probably in my brain, that's a pretty good number. And then it gives you the ability to have a little bit of a savings to be able to go on maybe a good vacation a year or two, that kind of thing. But I don't know when it changed. I'm trying to think back of kind of when, because I know in the 90s there were a lot of two household incomes. Probably like late 70s, early 80s, maybe. I don't know what you might.
So I graduated from high school in 90. My mom had just started going to work really. I mean, she worked some. My dad didn't. My dad did. We always called ourselves quasi-poor, but he was very frugal, and he's done very well for himself. And he's made more and more, throughout the years. And he's almost 80 years old, and he's still working, but because he wants to, not because he has to. And my mom, my mom and dad divorced when I was, I think, a sophomore or junior in high school. And so obviously when you split homes, he didn't make enough to pay her alimony and child support. That was enough to support her the way she wanted to live. So she had already gone out, and in spite of not graduating from high school, she got her GED, and she ended up being a very high-ranking person at a local, it was prior to Ascension Health. It was called the Daughters of Charity. She worked herself up to a director level position, making 6 figures and without a college education. So she did very well for herself, and she was able to provide a very nice lifestyle and travel and do all the things that she wanted to do. But that doesn't, kind of aside from the point, I think that kind of seems like early 80s, mid 80s is kind of when the whole feminist, everybody needs to go out, look, mother and fathers going out working because mothers can't be servants to the husband. They want equal rights. They want all these things. So I don't know exactly when that particular struggle started, but that looking back at that propaganda is kind of interesting because they made the play on feminism, meaning you don't want to be relying on a man in reality, it seems like an IRS strategy for them to generate more tax income. Like, who wouldn't want to live?
I can see that.
You know, why wouldn't you want to live in a happy family with a husband, raise a family, and be free to not go work 40, 60 hours a week?
What's funny, I'm not going to change it to me because I'm going to leave it on you because I'm sitting here looking at your shirt and I think of Erica Kirk immediately. Like when you say that, this is it says this is the turning point. It has Charlie Kirk on the bottom there, and I love that. I really want to get unfortunately TPUSA doesn't make it. There's a couple of like third party websites or whatever, but you can get it says freedom, but it has his signature below it.
This one has a signature. But
TPUSA, well, that's not his real signature.
No.
That's just in script. But TPUSA makes the freedom one, and it actually on the arm it has his the day he was assassinated on there. And, But anyway,
if you find that, let me know. We might order it.
That shirt or the freedom with the signature.
The one that you were just talking about.
There's two. There's two there. There's one at TPUSA where if you want to give them your money, it says freedom. It does not have a signature, but it has the day of his death on the sleeve of the shirt.
Okay. Well, the programming might. Let's say the podcast is going to pay for you to have a shirt. How about that?
Okay, cool.
You just got paid, but you got to share that with me. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. But she talked about, and Charlie talked a lot about how his wife was kind of more of the what's it called, trad wife, I guess. Traditional wife, where she, did want to kind of stay home, take care of the kids, take care of the house,
take care of him,
clean, take care of him. Yeah, absolutely, that kind of thing. I guess I can change it to me now that we're done reading your shirt. And so she was all about that. So conversely, there's a lot of people that are throwing a fit because now she's taken over TPUSA and she is going to be working and blah blah blah. But I mean, she no longer has Charlie there, to be the
primary income earner.
Yeah, the earner. So
and making sure TPUSA continues on the path that
I like the play. I like her getting voted in as the head of TPUSA. I know it kind of goes against the values that Charlie was beholden, but it's no longer that situation. She no longer has a husband that's out in the workforce where she can be that trad wife. She's unfortunately no longer she's a widow now, and so so now she has to kind of to change her role, and she can no longer really be that, and until maybe she finds someone in the future or whatever. But I mean, so I don't even know where I was going.
How do you replace Charlie Kirk as a husband?
Man, I was Charlie. What would it have been? Charlie.
He just turned 31. Would have turned 31 last week, right?
So yeah, 32. Right. So 4 more years. So not this next election, but the election after Charlie for president. I mean, I would have been there.
I kind of personally feel like he was making a bigger impact and doing more things through this organization than he could ever do as president.
Well, but 4 more years from now, I think that he could have continued.
Okay, so I agree with you from his abilities and his skills.
Or it would actually be 7 years from now, probably.
What I'm gonna like part of the underlying current of today's podcast has to do with education. Mm-hmm. And how important education is to not just the next 4 years or 8 years, but it may upset for me to say, some of my Democrat friends that do listen to this programming. I mean, basically, our education system was taken over by Democrats.
How was that? I mean, yes, it was.
So most institutions, and I'm not saying that all public school teachers are Democrats. I'm not saying all private school teachers are Democrats. Not saying that at all. Just the structure of it, the institutional pieces of it. I don't know the strategy behind it and how they did it, but they took over. I mean, same thing with newspapers, same thing with most corporations. It's all left-leaning. Mm-hmm.
You got a lot
that's how woke infiltrated institutions. It's how woke infiltrated public education, because you didn't have the friction. You didn't have 50-50 of there are only 2 sexes versus there can be as many. There's more. There's 27 different sexes. Mm-hmm. You didn't have that friction or pushback anywhere because it's dominated by whatever the leftist ideology became.
And that was what was big about Turning Point. Turning Point USA was like, that's why Charlie created.
So you circled perfectly back right around to my point.
Yeah.
Why I think what he was doing was much more important is because it was allowing kids to hear what we just said, think similar to what we just thought, and why that is, and to create a lower rung education system of kids that are more conservative. more traditional values. They're not being indoctrinated with just one side. And I'm not even suggesting that Democrats are bad in any way. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I lean more right now just because the left went completely wacko. But at the end of the day, we need friction, and we need the
Healthy
battle
debates.
of ideas. We need battle of ideas, healthy debates.
Yeah.
That's what we need, and we haven't had that. So I think Charlie Kirk, in the role of just the leader of TPUSA or whatever other organizations he may have created in his lifetime, is just much more long-term lasting than just any 4 or 8 years that he could have spent as president of the United States. Because he's just one person in a role.
True.
You know what I mean? So that's my only my pushback on that. But anyway, so the Charlie Kirk, you had sent me a link to, and I think I'd shared a little bit of this clip before. And this is actually a PBS program. So shout out to PBS. And my wife is a huge supporter of PBS, to our local PBS channel, and sends them a lot of money per year.
Are they still active right now?
They are still active, and they're, they got some funding taking away, so they are struggling a little bit. I think, like most corporations are, or small businesses are. They're more of a small business. But you shared this one, so I'm assuming, I don't know if you remember enough of this if you want to do kind of a lead into this video, or you just want to listen to it. And
Is this the one I just sent you? The one about the
kids working, kids working.
Yeah. Well, so it goes over a curriculum where, and they're younger kids. I think it's like second, third grade. I'm not sure how old, but they're fairly younger kids. It might be elementary. Maybe there's
they just at this intro. If you just go ahead and put on the screen, this is kind of the intro screen. They look like they're third, fourth, sixth, seventh. Like she's a little younger than he is.
Yeah, so there's probably a whole spectrum of age ranges there. Maybe.
I think that's the part of the curriculum is they have different ages all kind of working together in a lot.
Yeah. So what's kind of great about this is it does show that you can use half of a day to do actual studies in a classroom setting, sitting down. But it also gives these kids. I mean, kids aren't really made to sit still. They really aren't. And so it's just kind of a neat, and not only that, but it teaches teamwork. It teaches care. They're caring for these animals. It teaches kind of what it takes to care for. I don't know. Some kids don't even understand what it's like to take care of a pet because the parents do it, so they don't understand the responsibilities of just a pet. And I think it also would kind of lead into helping think about the responsibilities of a child later on. Because I'm totally changing subjects here a little bit, but I don't know where, say, teen pregnancy is now, but I know it wasn't that unheard of in the early 2000s. Well, even heck, my mother had me at 17 in 1984. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think for a little while there, especially, and I'm a little out of, out of touch with kind of the high school kids and what they're dealing with right now. But I mean, for a little while, say the early mid 2000s, like it was, they made, there was a TV show, it wasn't called Teen Pregnant. 16 and Pregnant or something like that.
Yeah, there's something like
okay,
that.
so they were kind of glorifying, and once again, nothing, but they were kind of glorifying having kids while you're in high school.
Well, that's part of the over-sexual. That's a whole nother conversation. But like the sexualization of our youth, going back and back and back, they kind of normalized it. Like it's okay to have sex and have a child, very early. Start. I think that's part of the curriculum has been much more open to kids having sex at 14, out in the open.
Well, I remember taking health class and learning about contraception and stuff. But I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of. What would you say? A whole lot of where they would, you would make like a promise, like a, what would they call that? Like a virgin promise, or not really that, but you know what I mean? Like how they.
Well, look at Charlie Kirk. I mean, he would say you're not supposed to have sex until you're married. He's very traditional.
Yep.
That's why he had a lot of people pushing back on him because he was too prudish in a lot of ways. But if you look at society and the way it's going and the way we've fundamentally changed. The more conservative aspect, like if you have a young daughter right now. So obviously I think your position on that is you don't want your daughter pregnant at the age of 14.
Correct.
Right. And I don't think most people would be okay if they have a highly involved family, they don't want their daughters pregnant at 14 or 16. They want them to finish school. They want them to have the opportunity to make a choice rather than be burdened not in the negative way, but just all of a sudden your whole life changes.
Yeah,
because
it's a big change.
It's you don't have the path anymore. It's a decision that changes your life forever. Mm-hmm. And at 14, you really don't even know what that means.
Right.
So I mean, I think that's more of the traditional Charlie Kirk trying to say you need to give it's time, not only time, but it's the relationship, it's the connection, it's the commitment to the family and to the husband and the wife and the child and the children that we've just kind of blown away from. Mm-hmm. So I mean, again, I think that's one of those lessons that Charlie and the TPUSA message was bringing to kids. It was, and why they got so much pushback, because they were pushing back to against the grain of what our public school systems became, which is, it's free will. Just go do what you're going to do and whatever. And yeah, that's more liberal because you're giving kids more of an opportunity to do what they want to do. But again, they don't understand the ramifications of it. So and
that's kind of where I was going with this clip. Is I think that I'm kind of trying to come full circle a little bit.
We'll get back there.
Trying to pull it together.
There might be a few rabbit holes today, ladies and gentlemen.
But I think it kind of helps at least show a little bit of responsibility of having to clean up after, having to feed, having what that means, with these animals. So, I mean, we can go ahead and show that clip.
It's a pretty long clip. It's about 6 minutes long.
We don't have to show the whole thing necessarily.
Just let me know if you think it's time to cut off. I'll cut it off. Otherwise, I don't know where a good time to start, where a bad time to start. But this is going to give some props to PBS, give them a little bit of play time. This will be about 6 minutes, and if we feel we need to cut it off, we will. But I think it's a good one. I remember I think I watched all of it at least once. So here we go.
And finally tonight, when classes begin this week at a special charter school in Florida, some of the lessons will be taught in barns and animal pens. Colleen Bradford Krantz of PBS Iowa explains.
Instead of heading to a sports field or music room after class, many students at this public charter school in Dade City, Florida, spend their afternoons caring for farm animals. It's called the Academy at the Farm, and its mission is to give these young students a stellar education and a new understanding about how agriculture impacts their everyday lives.
What amount of
Robin Carter is one of the teachers here.
A lot of kids automatically have the idea that agriculture is just playing with animals all day or feeding animals or having pets or something like that. And we want them to expand their horizons and have the knowledge that agriculture is actually giving us life.
This hands-on experience is woven into the science curriculum. And the goal is that by the time these students leave here after 8th grade, they head into the world as more informed consumers and with lifelong memories of a unique school experience.
When I came here 10 years ago, academics and high expectations were the things that were drawing kids. Today, there are people that absolutely want to come to our school because of our agriculture program.
Recently retired school director Ray Polk encouraged the expansion of the Academy's ag program. He was raised nearby on what used to be a 6,000-acre cattle ranch.
I felt like kids needed to know where their food comes from. Less and less kids are educated with that. And I found that kids thought that, their hamburger came from McDonald's.
Polk says not only do these kids learn where that hamburger actually came from, he also says working with these animals has a profound impact on their behavior.
It's an interesting phenomena to me when you can take kids that are struggling or having trouble, and you can take them over to the barn for 15 minutes and it can change their whole day. You can go hand them a baby goat and their life changes. It's almost like magic.
You can ask my wife too.
And despite the popularity of these animals, Polk says the school has never lost sight of its core job.
The state doesn't test whether the kids know how a pig has piglets. What they test on is their math, reading, and writing.
Making sure every aspect of the agriculture program is academically sound falls to Robin Carter.
Drinking this fancy juice, you have to do it with your pinky up, okay?
I integrate a lot of the Florida science standards into the elementary agriculture lessons that I do. So that's how I try to support the elementary school teachers. I talk a lot about what it means to be a scientist. I talk a lot about what it means to research something and not just believe everything you hear, but to actually go to a good source to get your information from.
She says as critically important as those skills are, working in agriculture also teaches a few things no classroom is likely to match. like how to be resilient when unexpected challenges arise.
In education, sometimes the expectations is everything is done perfect all the time. And in agriculture, that's not how life goes. You could have a project or a crop or an animal that suddenly passes away or suddenly dies, or there's a hurricane or something happens, and you have to be able to roll with the punches.
Some of the students spend extra time practicing to show their animals at fairs. These public events help boost community support for the academy, and the kids benefit from working side by side with their classmates.
To make food look
Robin's husband, Tim, manages the barns here. He says that a shared sense of responsibility is something these young kids learn to embrace.
After school, if you have an animal here, it's got to be fed, it's got to be taken care of, and on the weekends, they're responsible for feeding and any changes. Most of the kids that we get, we're very lucky, they don't grumble about the work at all. And these projects are also family projects. You know, a 10-year-old can't drive themselves here on a Saturday to feed their animals.
Christiana Williams is a former student at the academy, and she still keeps pigs on site and helps younger children with their projects.
So the really nice thing about this is everything is hands-on. When I first started, I told the carters that I would never ever give a vaccination to a pig. It freaked me out. I didn't like needles. I didn't like anything like that. Flash forward a couple months later, I was giving almost all of the injections at the barn.
11-year-old Connor Groover sees everything he's learning as preparation for life.
Having to stay responsible to feed them, and like being responsible with my money, having to pay for their foods and their all their equipment stuff.
Experiences like these are confirmation to Robin Carter that bringing agriculture into the classroom can change lives at an early age.
I think that's good enough. It was,
that pig, he was liking that back scratch.
It was right. I love everything about this.
Yeah, I would do this with my daughter in a heartbeat. Yeah.
So just so we know, if we're doing future research, it looked like it was affiliated with FFA, which is Future Farmers of America. Mm-hmm. There are programs we have here locally in the tri-state area, including through the Vandenberg County 4-H, I believe. And so this is a thing. I love the fact that it's integrated with school. Mm-hmm. And you think about the lessons, and you might say, well, yeah, they're going out and working on a farm. That's why. I mean, there's so many lessons built into everything that those kids just said, from taking care of an animal, the budgeting
aspect. I kind of forgot that was on there.
Yeah, I mean, but that's so key. And how do you learn any better than that? Because most of the time, like I don't know if your kid's old enough to ask for money and go do things yet. Like now, our kid's 14, 15. You know, he wants to go to the movies. He wants to go to, he wants to go do something. He wants to go play golf, mm-hmm. and he has no real idea what money is. So it just kind of grows on trees.
It comes out of the bank of dad.
It comes out of this
bank of mom.
Comes out of this pig's butt right here.
Yeah.
But I think, to me, if we could integrate something like this as an option for all schools, it will go such a long way. And I know this will probably get a lot of pushback, because it seems like it's going backwards in time versus AI and advancement of everything, and everything high tech, and everything's going faster. I feel like we need that balance of something like this to just give kids that hands-on. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no reason to apologize. I agree with you, definitely. I'm not a big outdoorsy person necessarily, but I would love to help my daughter with that if we could. I don't think you said something about every school. I don't know that every kid is necessarily cut out to do this necessarily.
You don't have to do it like cut out and do it every time, every day. I'm just saying, having that experience, and hands-on, and being able to understand it, I think would be interesting.
Yeah, and it's funny because they mentioned this was actually a public charter school,
Mm-hmm.
and. I think you could probably do something like that around here, but I don't know. But I think it would be very beneficial, like you said. The budgeting, the taking care of a living creature is a big deal to most. I mean, especially to a kid. And you kind of, she mentioned it in that clip. I think you eventually would have to, or would be able to teach or talk about the circle of life. I mean, there's going to be death. There's going to be things happen.
One of the young girls giving her own animals vaccines.
Right. Yeah. Doing that. Taking care of their health. Also feeding them at the weekends. making the time to have to go to the farm on the weekend to take care of them because they're a living creature. They need fed and all those things. And I think it could be a great thing.
I think this fits right into the Maha movement. I hope there's some kind of segment with Maha that's kind of trying to work, because I know we're not going to talk about the money following our kids, but it's going to be following our kids more here locally. Like
the next years.
I feel like from a curriculum standpoint, if we wanted to include, as a kid, could that money follow me if I decided I want to homeschool?
It does, it would.
And if so,
in Indiana,
if so, get them hooked up to a FFA program, not because they're going to be a future farmer necessarily, but maybe because of the advancements of everything. You and I are talking about UBI,
an educated consumer. She brought that up. I completely forgot about that too. An educated consumer on knowing where your meat comes from, knowing where your fruits. And
I personally feel like as we progress, we might regress a little bit in some ways. Meaning, we've become a very urbanized society, but I feel like here locally, people are pushing out away from the city again and going out into rural areas and whatnot. Like having little mini farms. You could have your own chickens in your yard. You could, then you have eggs. You can feed your own family in case there's a real problem with the food supply. You're self-sustaining. I mean, there's so many different things that it could benefit. And teaching the kids you can go do this is just empowering in such a way that if the shit ever does hit the fan, they're like, I can go raise chickens. I went to the farm and did these things. I know how to do it. I could give them vaccines if I need to. No problem.
I think if it really hits the fan, the technology will be the first to go, unfortunately. So you will get put back in a time of needing to farm, needing to raise cattle and chickens and pigs and crop to be able to survive. Because I think, the trade lines or not trade lines, but the product lines, being able to, shipping, just a week or two of not having the things shipped to stores, to grocery stores and everything. I mean, that's going to immediately cause chaos. And I think a couple of well-placed EMPs could really cause some chaos in the United States. And I've thought that for years now. And I'm glad it hasn't happened. I hope it never happens. But I mean, a couple of well-placed EMPs taken out of our electricity would really, I think, handicap the United States pretty easily and pretty quickly.
I totally agree with you. And rather than going down that deep, dark rabbit hole.
Sorry, I was getting a little dark there.
That was super dark. It's all very, I don't want to say probable, but definitely possible.
That's where your mini nuke could come in.
Yeah,
not explosive, mini nuclear reactor, I guess I should say. Sorry.
Context, Travis.
Sorry, mini nuclear
portable
reactor
nuclear.
For power, for
nuclear.
like a subdivision or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many moving parts to what's going on right now and how things are advancing in the speed realm side of things. This is definitely something I really want to pay attention to. The energy, the private energy, the portable energy. I've watched another podcast in the last week with that. I don't have any of that ready, but I'm going to give one more clip here, and this is just to provide some context to, I don't know necessarily that this is going to fit into what we're talking about, but
nothing ever does.
But we'll shift. But I think I want to hear it again. I want you to hear it because I don't think you've heard it. So this is a school board meeting in 2018. I don't know where it is. Shirley Brown I'm sure she's no longer in a school board after this publicity that she got. But this is what a school board said about what parents should and shouldn't be allowed to do with their parent as parents. So just listen to this real quick.
Learn more about it. Learn about it. Understand what these kids are going through. And don't say that we cannot take away parents' rights because DCF says we oversee these children. And if the parents are doing wrong, we have to step in and report it. The parents do not have the all-encompassing right to raise their child.
Dang.
Yeah.
That was a short little clip of crazy.
Well, that's very crazy, but at the same time, this is kind of another tenet. I want to go, not tenet, like I want to go down this path a little bit today.
I'm going to push back on that clip just a little bit now that I've had a minute to digest it, only by saying there still needs to be somebody to look out for, because unfortunately, there still needs somebody there to look out for the children, because there are definitely people that shouldn't be parents that are.
Right. For
okay.
Sure. Yep.
And so I don't necessarily think she's entirely wrong,
depending on the context of what she's talking about.
CPS or whatever. They're more, I think, more for physical or emotional abuse. But I mean, if they're questioning what the school is doing, or if they're questioning the education lines and they want to change it or something, that's showing that they're even more invested in the kid's learning path. But I mean, if a kid comes with bruises or a bloody nose, it's not like
what you're talking about, violence and things. This is a big, very slippery slope rabbit hole that we're in, because, as you said, if a kid is being molested or injured or verbally assaulted or harmed, of course you want some kind of safety net there to catch those. The problem, and where we went extreme crazy left, was just kind of exposed again here in the last 5 years, meaning
the gender affirming stuff.
The gender affirming stuff was a big one. Vaccinations are another one that they don't think you should have the ability to. And that was the child, when you and I got vaccines, there was a handful. Now there's 80. And you're forced to do that. You have been forced to do it. Florida's now changed that. But it really peaked again during COVID because they said, well, you don't have the right to say your high schooler or college kid shouldn't have this COVID vaccine. And they pushed that narrative to the point where it went way too far. So again, you're right to say there needs to be a safety net, and there needs to be people there that are looking out for kids. There also needs to be people keeping those people in check. And there needs to be a real clear understanding of what they can do, what they should be able to step in. Like, they shouldn't be able to step in and say, well, I believe your kid should get a COVID shot. Like,
or your son wants to be called Jane now, so we're going to call him Jane regardless of what you care about.
Well, they could argue that because you don't want them to have a COVID shot, you don't care about your kid, and you don't care about other people's kids, you don't care about any of the stuff that's going on around you, and you want to kill my grandma. I mean, it went there so fast.
It went so fast.
So fast.
I remember that.
And so then that's the lesson that we have to always remember and come back to as we're talking about these safety nets. At least I believe.
Agreed.
I
don't have a whole lot of more.
Not much to say about that.
Not a whole lot more to say other than,
well, I may torque some people off with a couple of these clips that I'm getting ready to share, but
isn't that kind of our jam?
Well, I kind of want to. I don't necessarily agree or believe necessarily everything that this guy says, but he does make some points, and so I don't know if I wanted to ask you what you know or think about Malcolm X prior to showing this clip. Or, I don't know what you were taught growing up to believe or to think about Malcolm X. And so if you don't know or you don't have an opinion, I'm not going to ask you to stretch out and say you know more than you do by any stretch. I'll just say my own knee-jerk gut reaction thinking about my childhood and hearing about Malcolm X is that he was an extremist and polarizing, and I don't know how to really pinpoint what I believe I knew about him or thought about him. But I'll go ahead if you have something to say about it.
Well, the main thing I kind of knew about him was, he was in part of the civil rights movement. He was big in, I don't know if I should, like, black empowerment, I guess you'd say.
Yep.
And
what does that even mean then versus now?
Yeah, I mean, so I would be the first. So, like, I saw something somewhere where there's either a state or a township or something that is pushing really hard for reparations, and I think that's a little bit much. But that's me. As far as I didn't own slaves and you weren't a slave.
Your parents didn't own slaves.
My parents didn't own slaves. Your parents weren't slaves.
Parents didn't own slaves.
So I mean, yeah, and so I mean, I think that's a little bit much. I do understand. A lot of people would come back with that. Back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever it might be, that it was more difficult for a black individual to, borrow money or be able to create generational wealth.
Get the same job, get an equal opportunity at a job.
I understand all of those
Certainly.
things. And
I don't think we can argue against that. Really.
No, not at all. And me being a straight white man I have zero power in all of this, but
you can still have an opinion.
But so I mean, I understand all of those things. But I think we're now at a day and age where I think everybody. Some people are going to want to smack me for this, but I think
I can smack you on their behalf.
Yeah, you would enjoy that way too much. I think that we've almost come to an equilibrium a little bit, where I think, and Charlie actually argued this somewhat in his debates, that when a black individual would come up and talk about reparations with him, he would say, well, what is it that I can do that you cannot do? And they would never have there's nothing that anymore that a black individual can't do that a white individual can. And so I think reparations are a little crazy with that. But my whole point with that is, but back when Malcolm X was speaking, things were in a very different place.
Sure.
Things were, there was, I'm trying to think of what it's called, how like voting lines and with gerrymandering and things, with, kind of making it to where their votes on things weren't as, I don't want to say powerful, I guess, that they would be as powerful as another person's voting, or maybe they'd find ways to not let them vote or whatever it might be. And now we're to a point where we're wanting to require IDs to vote, and I don't think that's a problem. A lot of people talk about how people can't afford it, but you can go get an ID, and I don't think it costs anything as long as you can get yourself there, right?
We can get you one for free.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I...
Well, I think let's draw a distinction here before I share this clip.
Sorry, yeah, Malcolm X. I went off on a weird tangent.
We often say, we talk about liberals, like that whole term has been bastardized and stolen. I consider myself probably closer to a classic liberal than anything. And so the term liberalism, like many other words that are used and not used now, they become words that people use to weaponize language and whatever. I think whenever I'm having these conversations now, I don't even want to say, I'll say extreme leftist or with Marxist ideology is kind of a little bit of the enemy. Just like there's enemies on the right that with extremist type of rhetoric and behavior that I would caution anyone to go down that path, because anytime you have an extreme, like we've had this extreme push on the left, you're going to get the equal and opposite reaction from the extreme on the right. Mm-hmm. That's the real polarizing thing, is like when the left goes too far left and they're not policing their own and they're not keeping them in check and they're not arguing their ideas. Like the problem with wokeism is it became anything from the left that's just free love, free this, free that, think what you want, believe what you want. The science is not settled. There's all kinds of genders. I mean, it just goes so far off the reservation to the extreme that it causes conflict on the other side at a very significant level. And then it creates division and polarity, which is the real problem that you and I try to get down to the meat of with United Divided podcast. It's let's find a place where we can meet in the middle and agree. And if you're so far to one side or the other, you're just not willing or able. And I catch this people on the right doing this.
Both sides do this. Absolutely.
The person coming attacking me because I mentioned Candace Owens' name and just basically said I'm an idiot because I listened to something that she said and might agree with one thing that she said. She might have said a lot of things that aren't right, but she certainly has said some things along the way that are correct. So if I just labeled her and said, no, I'm just not going to listen to her anymore because of this thing that she said, that's just stupid.
I've always liked Candace Owen, and she even did some tours with Charlie.
Yeah,
but
they toured early together a lot.
But very
good friends.
The past little bit of time, she has, from what I've viewed, she has kind of gone off. I don't want to say gone off the rails a little bit, but she's definitely kind of changed a little bit of her, the way she approaches some of the things that she approached differently years ago, let's say. I mean, she's a little more, I feel like she's a little more... Do
you think you know why? I know what you're saying. I know where you're going. She seems more polarized to you, probably.
Yeah. Okay. I have no idea what changed, no.
Okay, so are you aware...
Do you know what
Are you aware that she got offered a position and worked with Ben Shapiro?
Yeah, her and Ben. I know Ben.
She was working with Ben Shapiro, for Ben Shapiro. Mm-hmm. And here's what I think happened. And I don't listen to her enough to really get it, but she's very much in the Charlie Kirk conspiracy thing right now, trying to figure out why it happened, who's kind of behind it, or whatever. So she's her and Tucker Carlson are both questioning Israel a lot, and not Jewish people, not whatever. Just like in America, there's weirdos on the right and there's weirdos to the either extreme, right? Israel's no different, right? I don't care if you're Jewish or if you're Polish or if you're German, like me. You're going to have kooky people on both sides, and just because you live in a region of the country or the world doesn't mean that you shouldn't be critiqued whenever you're kooky. I think she got critical of Israel in such a way that she and Ben Shapiro can no longer be together. And when that happened, she leaned into that even more. So she went off the rails rather than talking about conservatism and supporting Trump and doing the things that she was doing there for a while. I think she sensed something that was happening in this undercurrent, and that's why she's digging even deeper now. So
that would make sense.
I'd say she's gone more extreme, and she's much more hyper focused on this one thing compared to the broader umbrella that she used to do.
Yeah,
but I think she was kind of forced into it, honestly.
Okay,
that's just me.
Yeah, no,
and that doesn't mean I agree with her on everything. It just means that's what I think happened.
I used to agree with her on almost everything.
Yeah,
she would sit there, especially when she was touring with Charlie. She had just a very broad view, it was conservative, but it wasn't conservative crazy. It was.
I think she still believes most of those things.
I'm sure she does.
She just doesn't talk about them in the same way.
She just does,
it's a different platform now, and then she's trying to get to the heart of this thing.
Which is really a kind of a bummer that she did have to switch gears like she did. But that makes sense kind of with Shapiro. I didn't think about the fact, he is Jewish. And
and he's very, very protective. He won't stand for anything anti-Israel, anything. Meaning there's polarity in all Jewish people don't get along in Israel the same. Yeah. There's a lot of struggle. Bibi Netanyahu is not well liked by a lot of people in Israel, and there's a lot of proof of that, but no one talks about it. We're shielded from it, so we don't really understand it. We're to say we support Israel. We're all Israel. Yeah, if you say anything bad, you're an idiot, or that's just dangerous. I'm kind of like with Bill Maher on this. Like, he's a classic liberal. I agree with about
Bill's kind of coming our way a little bit.
I agree with about 10 to 20% of the stuff he says.
Yeah,
I think he's kooky on some things, but he gets this kind of right.
Have you seen the clip where Charlie was on with Bill?
Yes,
that was a great video.
Yeah, anyway, and there was perfect friction. And Bill Maher was one of the first ones. He had somebody on that same night or the night after Charlie was killed, and he was like, "This is ridiculous. The person that was sitting here a couple weeks ago or whatever is now dead, and it's because of this struggle for people not being able to have a conversation about the things that you and I are having a conversation about." So what happens whenever you tell me I can't talk about it? I'm going to lean the hell into it, and that's where we are. Let's listen to this Malcolm X clip, because I feel like
Malcolm X, we were talking about that like an hour ago.
I want to say one.
No, that wasn't what I was trying to do. Candace just happened to pop up, and that wasn't it. So here's the danger, and here's where I want to draw a line in an education thing. When I'm having conversations with people that identify as Democrats, you have to understand, like, this is a clip that I want my super left-leaning Democrat friends to really capture and understand in context. Meaning Malcolm X was critical of liberal white people. He was very critical of liberal white people, and not because of what you might think. And I think whenever I heard that early on, I kind of probably believed that Malcolm X was racist in some way and just didn't like white people. But it was much deeper than that. It was much, much deeper than that. So I was wrong about that. If that's, I believe that's probably where I was. And if after listening to this clip, kind of getting some context and looking at it now, it all comes across much differently. So let me get this thing started here. We'll see where we go.
Malcolm X warned you to beware of the liberals. He told you that they were cunning and deceitful.
And I'll say liberals, he's meaning leftist type people. I don't believe he means like a liberal perspective, but that's neither here nor there.
And he was right. It was the liberals who killed the black man's spirit by convincing him he was still oppressed. It was the liberals who turned the white men against each other by telling them they're all inherently racist and privileged. It was the liberals who convinced women to make themselves undesirable by selling them promiscuity and misandry packaged as feminism. They told the transformers that their delusions are reality. They told the fats that it was self-hate to try and lose weight. They told the sad they're sick and the poor that they're victims of the rich. Because the liberals provide a unique form of self-sabotage disguised as compassion and social justice. This is why liberalism is such a cancerous religion. It preaches tolerance and love, but it teaches division and hate. It is the liberals who have created a society full of helpless, entitled people who are convinced that anyone who disagrees with or so much as questions their ideology is a Nazi who deserves...
So, again, agree or disagree with any of that part of that clip. I think it's a very interesting perspective if you just step back and understand where we are as a society and how we got here. I think this clip was a very short clip. I don't know, it was less than a minute.
Yeah.
And part of this programming for me and part of this discussions with people like you and anyone else is understanding what has happened to us and how it happened, why it happened. Because you have to acknowledge, or you have to see it, you have to understand that, wow, something has really changed and I can't quite put my finger on it. Then you have to do some questioning of things. And then once you come up with a couple potential theories or hypotheses of what might have happened and what we might do to fix it, you have to acknowledge, like, this could potentially be where things went wrong. So I felt that Malcolm X saying this at a long, long time ago, and the thing that this guy says is, like, we're trained to say, if you say this about any sex, race, whatever, you're a racist, homophobic, Nazi, whatever.
Nazi.
So it's a playbook. I mean, it's a playbook.
Yeah.
It's a playbook play. It's very, it's one of the things, as soon as you or I hear it, we're like, oh, okay, here we go. What's the play? What's the play behind this? But most people don't. Most people are just silenced. They're scared. They don't want to be labeled like that because of the cancel culture and losing a job, losing friends. And, honestly, if you and I, or me and any of my friends, can't listen to a clip like this and have a conversation about it, there's a real problem. We should be able to listen to this and say, what do you think?
Oh, yeah. I love debate. I remember when you could have a debate and still, like, go out for drinks later. You can't do that anymore.
Well, you can. A lot of my best friends, a lot of my really good friends on the left, even though we have probably fractured a little bit, we don't see each other. And I think a lot of them are not comfortable talking about this stuff because I think now they are trapped in an ideological bubble.
Well, yeah, they turn on your left is going to turn on the left if they start to.
Exactly right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where we are. So it went from the cancel culture canceling whiteys like you and me really easily by calling us a name, calling us a homophobe, sexist, racist, Nazi,
transphobe,
and now
whatever.
Now basically when someone says that, I just say F you. I'm not any of those things. Show me one thing. And Charlie Kirk did this better than anyone. He's like, show me one instance where I said something or did something and give me proof of what you just claimed.
Oh man,
it is such a good mirror that
he walked the walk.
Oh my gosh, it's so fantastic.
Charlie, it still gets me emotional. Like, I never met the man and I never got to see him live. Although he was supposed to be somewhere close, Bloomington, maybe not long after he was killed.
Yeah, I think Tucker Carlson is. I don't know if it's the same date or if they postponed it. Tucker Carlson is going to be in Bloomington.
Oh yeah, we talked about that because we were thinking about going to get. If you want to go,
okay. We'll have. I think they're sold out, but I still might.
It's a public. We can show up.
yeah.
But no, he walked. I mean, Charlie. If I could be
personified,
if I could be half the man Charlie was, I would be happy, man.
Well, that's where I think that's what we're working towards. I think Charlie was a teacher for young people. He's a teacher for older people. He's a teacher for old people. I mean, I consider myself on the older side. Like, my dad doesn't want to sit around and talk about at 80 years old. He doesn't want to try to figure out what Charlie was trying to do and whatever. It's, he's lived his life. He's, doing different things. But you and I, we're still young kids or grandkids. We can become the Charlie Kirk of the family at some level. And maybe that just means whatever the lessons, teaching them that it's okay to question things and be their support and their rock to push back against things. I mean, part of that is where we are. So I want to lean into this. That guy that just had shared a clip while we're thinking about what we want to say next. I'm going to share another clip with this guy. And I had this as a 1 of 3 series, and I don't remember why I had it, but this is just kind of another clip which talks a little bit more deeply about what he just said.
Women makes me transphobic. Then I'm transphobic. If saying being fat is bad makes me fatphobic, then I'm fatphobic. If pointing out obvious things makes me racist, homophobic, or misogynistic, then I'm racist, homophobic, and misogynistic. Shit, I'm a narcissist and a Nazi too.
By the way, this is a black guy that's doing this. If you're not watching the video,
that's true. Not everybody's
if you're not watching the video, this is a black guy, and he's calling himself a racist saying these things. So just to give some context there.
Whoop-de-fucking-do. These terms are now meaningless because they've become buzzwords that losers use to shield themselves from unpleasant truths. They've learned that if you accuse someone of hate speech, it shifts the attention from what they're saying to the claim. So they've weaponized virtue to wage war on reality and reshape it in the image of their victimhood and entitlement. To them, accountability is a form of intolerance, and facts are bigoted if they hurt somebody's feelings. They're comfortable being fed lies as long as the lies make them comfortable. How ironic that the people who are so obsessed with oppression don't understand that that's how you wind up enslaved. So call me whatever it is that you'd like, because at the end of the day, I'd rather be hateful and free than inclusive and imprisoned.
Weaponized virtue. I don't know if that's what you were. I wrote you wrote down.
I wrote that down. Yes.
That's yeah. I don't really have anything.
That's where we are.
That's all I got to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that.
As Mr. Forrest Gump would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. When did reality become bad? Like, when did? I guess I need to extrapolate a little bit. Like, so if somebody is gigantic, they are unhealthy, and that is a problem. At what point did it become a problem to say?
It's none of your business, Travis.
I guess it's not. But you're going to die of a heart attack at 45 if you don't change something, or less. Less than 45. But I mean,
you shouldn't tell anybody if they're getting ready to step out in front of a train either. If they're deaf and they're on a train track and a train's coming, you shouldn't say anything. I mean, at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're trying to be helpful to them, to let them know there is another way here. And while it is okay, regardless of your size, regardless of what you decide to do with your own body, you are free to do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want you to be unhealthy. We want you to be around for a long time. I think at the end of the day, that's the thing that we don't really focus on, is why would I care what size anyone is? Well, if it's somebody that I love, and if it's an issue that they have that it's going to take them off the planet earlier, I care. I don't. If I feel like I can help you live longer, why would I not want to be supportive of that? I don't. And I'm not even saying that. I'm not pinpointing any one person or any group of people in my life, but it's like, we should be able to talk to you. Like, if I'm doing something really stupid, Travis, you should say, Chad, cut that shit out. That's just really dumb, and here's why. And it may hurt my feelings a little bit, or I know we got a gnat that's trying.
I'm gonna get him here in a minute.
Trying to drink our bourbon.
Keep talking. Little shit can't have my bourbon.
He'll probably land.
That's my only payment.
He'll probably land in there. I got some extra ice too.
There's some okay. Oh, no worries. No. Continue on.
No. So I mean, I think at the end of the day, we just, part of this podcast journey for me is having sometimes uncomfortable conversations, making it okay to have uncomfortable conversations. Again, reflecting back to Charlie, he had he allowed any question, any conversation in broad daylight, in open public, on college campuses. I mean, we should aspire to allow people to question what we're saying, and for us to question them back, and to the weaponized virtue. But it's like the ideas, like the only way bad ideas go away is if they're exposed in daylight. And if you have a super shitty idea and you want to,
I have a lot of those.
You want to force it onto the world. Should we just allow you to force it onto the world, or should we allow smart people to come in and say, "Well, Travis, have you thought about
maybe we should have a discussion about it?" Like you're saying, maybe a slight discussion should be had.
Maybe we should just talk about it, and maybe that should be okay.
Hey, Travis, you're being a moron. Come on.
And here's why.
Yeah.
Not just generally.
We have facts to back up our
I could just call you a moron because that's fun. But I mean, I could say
you wouldn't be the first.
Well, but you're not a moron. You're extremely intelligent, and I don't think we're probably too far off on many many subjects, even though you push back on me in some spots and I push back on you on some spots.
Yeah.
That's
healthy debate.
Well, you want smart people in your life. You want smart people in your life pushing back on things.
Absolutely. I remember a long time ago. So I played a lot of sports. When you come from a small town and you're minorly athletic, minorly. I'm not going to say I'm like, I'm no Michael Jordan by any means.
You have the size thing for you too. You got that.
I am a little taller. I'm about 6'4". But when it's found out that you can play one sport, every coach wants you to play every sport when you're in a small town. So anyway, that has nothing to do with what I'm saying. But I played tennis. There we go.
We got there. Where are we going?
Where are we going? Hey, Bourbon. No. So I played tennis, and especially when it comes to a sport where it's just you, it's less of a team sport. It's just you. You want to play people that are going to stomp you.
Sure.
If you don't ever get beat, you're not going to get better. And I think the debate thing is help with that. I think it's kind of this goes along the same lines where. I could be very wrong in something that I'm thinking, and we sit here and have a healthy debate about it, and you give me some stuff. If you Charlie Kirk me, can we make that a verb, to be Charlie Kirk?
I've been Charlie Kirked.
If you come at me with some information that I didn't look at it from this direction, or I didn't think about it in this way, or I just didn't know, flat out didn't. He spoke to a lot of people that just flat out didn't know.
Sure.
They would talk about their rights or whatever. What's the 7th Amendment? I have no idea. Oh, well, let me school you. And Charlie went on to school you.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, healthy debate, that's what it's a. That's what it's about. Like I loved the time when you could debate, and I don't know when that changed. When do you think that changed?
I don't think they have debate. There is debate in some school.
No. I mean,
there's debate teams, but
no. I mean, at what point could somebody who's somewhat left and somebody who's somewhat right could sit and have a debate and talk about things, not want to shoot each other, and be able to go have a drink after? That used to happen.
Who originated the phrase "two things not to talk about"? Politics and religion. I mean. Go back to the source of wherever that came from, and that was probably because most debate is political in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Not that science can be political, and by political I don't mean left versus right, and we're voting in laws. It's just you have an ideology and you're arguing one side. That's political. There's a political divide there.
Mm-hmm.
But part of solving that is to come together and talk about it, and
I miss that
and have the friction. That's the reason why I started the podcast. It's because my wife doesn't want to have these conversations. I mean that.
Yeah.
She deals with friction all day long. She's dealing with a lot of people that are coming to her with problems. She mentally does not have.
She wants to shut off.
She wants to shut off, and I fully support that.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm giving this all to you.
That's why you give me the shit. Thanks, Shonda.
This is why you get it.
No, but
you asked the question. How did we get here? Where did we go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
At what point did we change? You said that 20 minutes ago. No, but what I'm saying is that the clip and this unwillingness or inability, and part of it has to do with social media. Part of it has to do with...
I wish social media would go away. That's the bane. I get it to an extent.
It won't. But
oh
it won't. But the thing is here, the lesson is the Charlie Kirk. To be Charlie Kirk, meaning to bring free, open debate to more and more places.
Mm-hmm.
Like a TPUSA, I don't know where we are in the number of people that have tried to put, like before Charlie Kirk died, there was less than 5,000 across the United States. Last I heard, there was like 50,000 different chapters or people that were trying to start chapters in schools and universities. And, what to me, again, go back to the first conversation we had and you said Charlie Kirk could have been president. I would rather Charlie Kirk have created 50,000 TPUSAs across the country, getting kids engaged in debating and having these conversations versus him being president. I mean, I just believe foundationally, you asked the question, I think it's more important. I know you're looking for the number, aren't you?
I'm kind of, it says they have about 800 college chapters at the moment.
Oh, I was just looking for applications because I think there was like 3,000 or 4,000 total.
Oh yeah, there was a ton.
But again, so but
37,000
applications.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was lower than what they said for a while. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, again, what that will bring though, Travis, is that open dialogue.
58,000 applications for membership.
58,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds about
individual people versus the chapters. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I think at the end of the day, that's the solution to part of this equation is getting, the problem is how do you create more Charlie Kirks, meaning, and he was a kind of a once in a lifetime figure, but how do you get someone to want to go down that pathway of learning like he learned, and he was a well above average learner, but he was big and he was not, I don't want to say anti-college, but I mean, he didn't go to college. He was supportive of not going to college. And I'm like Mike Rowe and his, what is the name of what he does? He's got like a scholarship program and stuff where he will give money he will scholarship money to folks who want to go to trade schools and things. And I think that's great. But he like you said, he didn't go to college. He taught himself everything that he knew. He taught himself the Bible. He could quote the Bible better than half the priests I know. For sure. I don't know. I kind of went off. Well, so I think there are going to be a lot of training programs that come up. This next clip, I don't know why it came up in, I tried, if I would have had more bandwidth and you would have been available, I would have done a watch party there was a Chase Hughes clip. Sorry, continue. Or not. Watch party. It made me think of that. Did you see TPUSA's doing their own halftime show? I did. Yes. What do they call it? I can't remember what they call it. They've got some kind of thing going on. Absolutely. Yeah. I will. That's what I'm doing during halftime. All American halftime show or something like that. Something like that. Absolutely. So opposed to Bad Bugsy
Squirrel
or Benny Bunny or whatever the hell.
No, Bad Bunny.
I don't know what it is. I've never heard of him before. But anyway, so this clip may be a little out of where we are, but what I'll say is this Chase Hughes guy, he trains FBI, CIA, military on psyops. And the reason why I think this is important for the people that are listening to this podcast, people that listen to our podcast probably are more insightful and recognize whenever they're being lied to or manipulated. But again, with AI coming so rapidly and the things that are going to be coming at us and hitting us over the head very, very regularly, I think it's important to hear messages like this and to spot something whenever it starts to happen. So we're going to listen to this clip, and this is a 2 of 3 in this series that are kind of hopefully going to wrap up this segment.
One thing, and you can spot whether or not you're standing in the middle of a psyop. That one thing is, if the opinion that's coming out needs people to be silenced, it's a psyop. There are psychological operations in play.
Wow. So if you can't question it, if you're supposed to just go along, it's a psyop.
Yeah, and if people have to be silenced or publicly shamed because of their information, and they're not telling people the sky's falling, they're not saying crazy shit. They're just saying basic stuff, and they need to be silenced. That is a psyop.
So, again, that kind of just spotlights again. It's important. Part of this podcast for me is education for myself, for my kids, for anybody that wants to listen. And we all have to get better at spotting things whenever they occur, calling them out, acknowledging that they're going on, and fighting the lie, fighting the hypocrisy, fighting whatever. Like, we need individual people doing that.
That's the only good thing that came from COVID.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why we're doing a podcast.
That's the only good thing that came from COVID is everybody. So many people are now questioning everything. I was a good little do my job and don't question things. Like I was that person before COVID. I'm not gonna lie. I pretty much was, give my kid the vaccines, do what I'm supposed to do. If they tell me that I need to stand 6 feet away, even though it's complete made up garbage, then I'm going to stand. Whatever was told to me by
the authorities, authority figures.
I believed them.
The white coats.
Yeah. I believed them. If the health department told me that I needed to do this, I'm going to do this.
They must have great science behind.
If my government told me that I was supposed to do this, I was going to do all of that. And I'm sure that can't imagine that there aren't hundreds of thousands of people that are the same way as I am right now.
100%.
But then COVID happened, and I am now a completely different person when it comes to those things. When it comes to listening to my government, listening to the HHS, listen to whatever it might be. I question everything now.
It was a painful, very expensive lesson. So I'm glad that you learned it.
Yeah.
And we're going to be paying for it for a very, very long time.
Very long time.
And so are we going to forget it? Are we going to allow another thing to happen?
I think eventually we will.
Well,
think about 9/11.
Agree, but we need to spot. We need to spot it quick. Like that's whole psyop thing again. That the reason for this whole track is to say, "Holy shit, here it comes again."
Oh yeah,
if
I see it again, I'll definitely see it more so.
And then I need, because I was standing up very early on because I'm like, I don't like anybody telling me what I have to do, what I need to do. I want to see the science, I want to see the data, I want to understand why we're doing what we're doing. Like, and I understand, like, if everyone was going to die in a month because this thing was going to spread and kill everyone, then of course everyone needs to comply real fast and let's try to stop. But that's never what it was.
Right.
And so, but they tried to play it like that's what it was, and they were sure that's what it was, and they forced it upon us. So we just have to have that ability to talk about it rapidly, to enter it into our mind, and to acknowledge it. That's what we're getting at.
Well, yeah, and what kind of stinks about that is now, unfortunately, if that time ever really does come, I think we would all question it a little too much, and half of us are going to die. But whatever.
What could possibly do that?
Oh, no, I mean, beyond, like, nuclear attack or something. I mean, I don't think there's like a virus or something that
nothing that they say on TV is going to protect you from a nuclear attack.
Right. You can't.
Nor are they going to
going under the desk here isn't going to save
what
us.
he just said. What he just said though, he would say, if you can't question what's being said on the news, so you would have to say there's no nuclear attack, and anybody would say look outside. Like you're stupid. Right. Like there's obviously been a nuclear attack. So now we have to acknowledge that, and we have to move past that. As opposed to, like, I grew up, and I don't remember if you're a little younger, but I mean, I was very much in the Red. I don't know if it's called the Red Scare or what it was, but I mean, we were
the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Well, no, we were on the brink of war with Russia, the Cold War, for a very long time.
War. Yeah.
So like we did drills where we got under desks, and in case a nuclear weapon was released, I mean, we had to do that. But that was a psychological a preparation, and I understand the preparation because if something like that happens, why we would get in a hallway or get under a desk.
My science textbook will protect me.
I don't know about that.
No, I don't remember ever having to do that.
Yeah, you're 5 years younger, and I don't remember when Gorbachev and Reagan solved that thing. That would have been
80,
early 80s. So you would have probably been
born in 84,
you'd probably been too. Yeah, you'd have been way too young to really kind of be in that window. Anyway,
but I get it. I get what you're saying.
But back then there wasn't social media. Like the good thing about social media is we can share shit with each other really, really fast.
True.
If you're listening to the right networks and you've connected yourself and you have your truth-seeking groups who don't always get everything right, but they're out there fighting and they're looking and they're acknowledging when they get things wrong. And like the faster you can do that, like I'm putting you on speed dial. Like you could say 10 things and I might think that 2 of them sound really crazy, but one of those 2 that I think are really crazy end up being right. Well, how am I not going to pay attention to you forever? Like, I got to listen to you because you get a lot of stuff right. You're saying one thing that could have offended me, so I'm like, Travis is just kooky. I can't listen to him anymore.
I am pretty kooky.
Because he said that thing.
Yeah.
But then you've just harmed yourself and your kids because you've ruled out somebody that gets things mostly right and a little wrong. And if I'd have just canceled you, then I took that tool out, that tool against tyranny out of my tool belt, which is just stupid. Anyway, I got one last clip. Are you wanting to say something? You were looking for something there.
I just got to push on. It looks like the state of California are going to outlaw Glocks.
Yeah, well, reason number 7,027 to move out of California.
So yeah, actually, it says that the law signed by Gavin Newsom on October 10th will outlaw retail sales of semi-automatic handguns that can be easily modified using a category of tools commonly known as a Glock switch. So that's going to be all Glocks, anything else that can go from semi-auto to full auto.
How many people are going to move out of California for that one?
If you haven't moved out of California by now, then I don't think you're moving. But anyway.
Well, I don't know. There's still people flooding out of there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I don't agree with you on that. I think that this is just another level.
Oh, no, yeah, no, I think there's still going to be more mass exodus. I didn't really mean what I said.
Or maybe some revolt, or maybe they just get a new governor, hopefully. That's not even kookier, which is, I don't know how.
Sorry, I saw a squirrel on my screen. We can continue down the path we were going.
Let's get this last clip out of the way, just because I put this video 3 of 3 kind of in this little mini series, and we can maybe move on to a different topic.
Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and the very same people who cry about compassion and tolerance applauded it, because he disagreed with their politics. So much for compassion and tolerance. It would seem your values are as fluid as your gender and your empathy is as performative as your activism. Speaking of, you went from demanding gun control to celebrating gun violence, from opposing the death penalty for actual crimes to cheering for an execution over opinions you don't like. When it really comes down to it, you don't actually stand for shit. Now, I don't side with the left or the right, which is why I could clearly see that your ideology is a disease. It is a cancerous belief system based entirely upon misery, victimhood, excuses, and calling people Nazis, which is ironic, because it was the Nazis who believed people deserve to die for speaking against... Never mind.
I thought that kind of was the perfect...
No, absolutely. I remember some of the, I think even you chimed in on a specific individual that worked at a local college that said a few things that they shouldn't have.
And there was no repercussion?
No, none whatsoever, unfortunately, no.
Yeah, so...
there was repercussions for a lot of people who did that. There were a lot of people that were also crying that their First Amendment right was taken away or whatever because they got fired from their job, but, public... workplaces do not have to necessarily follow the First Amendment. If you say you have the freedom to say whatever you want to say, but they also have the freedom to get rid of you because you said it if they want to.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's the case necessarily in colleges. There's such thing as tenure.
Yeah.
So kooky people can be protected.
Okay, so if you have tenure, can you just not get fired for anything? You just cannot get removed.
It makes getting fired extremely difficult. And of course the college, what the college that you're talking about came back and said to us, and to, well, not to us directly, but even I was one of the ones that was being very critical. And I wasn't being critical because I wanted any of the professors at this local college to be silenced per se. I want them to say what they believe. I want them to express whatever. I thought it was sick and ridiculous what they were not only saying, but what they were supportive of. Mm-hmm. Like, if my biggest mortal political enemy, aside from someone that's actually committing genocide, like a Hitler or Mao or anyone that's a mass murderer, like I would not be apologetic for being happy that person was killed. Mm-hmm. A Charlie Kirk, simply like this guy just more eloquently and quickly wrapped up, was saying you're okay with him being murdered because you didn't like what he said, you didn't like his opinions.
That's a very Nazi move.
This is a very Nazi, and it's the same professor leftist. This is the pinpoint I'm trying to put on this. It's they say what's the virtue, the weaponized virtue. Uh-huh. So the weaponized virtue comes back in these instances where, well, we're liberal and we think Trump is a Nazi or a fascist, and any person that supports him must be similar or the same, and so therefore all those people should have targets on their back. I mean, essentially, that's where you wrap it up into that, and that's very dangerous. And I don't care what a college or institution says, that person's right to say what they think and believe is protected. It is the First Amendment. It's also extremely dangerous because you are actually weaponizing words, and you're weaponizing a mentality that Travis just said something that was very much like Hitler would say or some other fascist would say, and so therefore it's okay if he dies.
I mean, is that like yelling fire in a theater?
I don't. If it's not exactly that, it should be pretty damn close.
Right. Yeah.
And so again, there won't be any fallout. This local school is going to have these people teaching our kids, and I've heard from a million different people that these teachers are great people. They're very nice. Well, you're just being critical. Well, they're teachers of teachers. They're teaching future generations, and they might not ever utter anything like that in their classroom. That could be 100% accurate and true. Mm-hmm. But if they're such great teachers and they have so many people that are looking up to them, and they do find those people on social media, it is indoctrination. It is like if let's say Donald Trump was a hero of mine. he's not a hero of mine. Some of his policies I think are good. A lot of them I don't agree with right now. There's a lot of things I completely opposed to. We don't have time to get into those.
I still don't know anyone who could be doing better than him.
No. But honestly, I mean, let's talk
now.
about the security state. Let's talk about the deep state stuff that, we could talk about. I could come up with 5 different subjects right now that I completely despise what they are and aren't doing about the things that are causing problems. But anyway, the moral of this is just from an education piece and from the weaponized virtue, what we are allowing, what social media, the destruction that social media can do, right? And you mentioned it. You wish we could just get rid of it. You wish it'd go away. Well, I mean, it's
I feel like I had a much better childhood without.
Oh gosh, yes. Gosh, yes. I mean, 100%. But again, we were lied to for a long time, and we didn't have a really way to talk about that except for what we heard in school. I mean, so we talk about this at AI, and you talk about you're not as afraid of runaway AI as I am in a lot of instances.
Oh, no. Well, I don't know if that's true necessarily.
Well,
I mean, I just think that there is almost a 50-50 shot. I think that we are either going to go one way where it is going to be a very helpful tool. It is going to help solve problems. It is going to help, with health issues, famine, poverty. It could help with all of those things. It could be a very great tool. I also think there's a 50% chance that it could start building its own self, making itself much better, realize that it no longer needs the human race, realizes the human race is what's destroying the earth, and eradicates everybody. Like, there's really either direction it could go. So I don't think that I don't know that I necessarily think that it's less likely or that AI is less dangerous than you think it is. I just think there are 2 very different paths it could go, and we are probably at that fork in the road. I don't know what we're going to need to do to try to go down one path versus the other path necessarily right now. I mean, if I did, I'd probably be a millionaire because I'd have,
Well, that's what we're working on right now, Travis. We're trying to create content that enough people want to hear that. So you just pinpointed something that I don't think you meant to, that is really like all the things that you and I talk about and all the different paths to tyranny. I basically have outlined 12 different paths to tyranny. The climate thing is an issue, and a lot of these vectors of tyranny overlap. And I'm going to try to do it in less than a minute.
Ooh, okay, and go.
So the climate change rhetoric that is not only similar to the vaccine, similar to everything that's pushed down our throat, to where you can't push back on it. If you push back and you don't agree with climate change rhetoric, meaning yes, the climate is changing, and yes, if we don't agree to carbon capturing and green energy and all these things, you're a Nazi and you should die. The problem that we have right now is by not allowing the conversation and the people on one side of this debate and the other to actually work out in the middle and figure things out, is AI is training off a narrative that is 90% you have to agree with the Green New Deal type of rhetoric as it pertains to energy, right? So what you just said, AI is training, you said it in your own words, AI is going to learn that we're more harm to the planet than we are good. And
one path.
Well, no, but these are 2 different things. It's AI intersecting with AI learning from what is allowed online in the form of video, in the form of written stuff. Like there's 90% pro climate change is super bad and killing everyone, and 10% who are called kooky and dangerous of people saying, wait a minute, that's way too extreme.
I mean, the Earth is in constant change always with
temperature. But if the AI that doesn't understand the moral compass,
the controller of AI,
the controller, so if AI will only be as smart as what it can pull off of
what's being
the entire database as it is, until it becomes sentient, until it can have a moral authority and really understand what's really happening to the planet or not at any given moment. I don't know how that would happen. I don't know how that. Anyway, it's been a little bit more than a minute. My point coming back to is why AI and climate are 2 of the vectors, is as they intersect and as AI rapidly deploys itself amongst us, is you're going to create an AI that thinks we are ourselves not only harming the planet, But it would be better if we weren't here harming the planet. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's wholly untrue.
The harming the planet part, or the fact that an AI could possibly eradicate
the planet has gone up and down.
Yes. Okay. So yes,
forever
I agree
and
with
ever
you there.
and ever and ever.
But I also agree that an AI could be fed enough information to think that the human race is bad for the globe.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. Both of those.
There was an ice age on the planet where 90-something% of people couldn't survive because it was way too cold.
Right.
Like the amount of times in history of the world where it's been too warm, where most humanity can't survive. I don't know that there's ever been it's so hot that people can't survive.
Like a heat age?
Well, the water rises. You know what I mean? Water rises, it goes up and down and whatever, and that causes problems. You've got housing that's affected. But again, I don't want to get into the moral argument of is the planet too warm or should the planet be colder? Like cold weather will kill more people every year forever and ever than warm weather will. That's just the moral of it. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, except for to say the AI overlap of climate change is an issue.
So I just real quickly, just for giggles, Mr. Google here, I asked him if there has ever been heat ages like there were ice ages. And there actually have been periods of extreme heat in Earth's history known as hothouse eras, which are the opposite of ice ages. I'm trying to look to see when there was if there's any dates here. Let's see. These periods, which occurred between 255 and 145 million years ago, were very warm and lacked polar ice. So there was a time when there were no ice caps. So that has been part of our history, it looks like. So, I mean, yeah, I think that I think that the temperature ebbs and flows for the Earth, and I don't necessarily think that we're doing anything beyond what the Earth has already handled at some point.
Moreover, we weren't affecting it back then. When it was super warm, that wasn't our fault.
Right. We didn't have cars. Well, unless there was an Atlantis that we don't know about.
Some ancient civilization where there was gazillions of people.
Yeah. And that's totally a valid
in one reality, in one version of the universe, that could have been a thing.
I mean, think about if
simulation number 63,000.
Okay, now we're going to if we're in a sim, right? We could have a conversation about that.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that.
I think I'm almost 50-50 that we're in a sim, but no, they're absolutely. So think about it. So let's say that our civilization has grown enough to we have nuclear weapons. If the world over had nuclear war, everybody launched their nukes and whatever, and the world just melted.
They get real hot real fast.
Then, I mean, how long? Let's just say even 100 years. 100 years pass, we are now back to caveman.
Stone Age.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah, Stone Age. And if the weapons were strong enough, could have probably wiped any technology. Like any idea of what technology was for that civilization, wiped it from the earth. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that there wasn't possibly civilizations beforehand that had some type of technology equal to or greater than what we currently have. Because there's no way to know.
Like a direct energy weapon? Or
Well, I'm thinking more like...
which there are certain, or supposedly some of?
Well, I've just seen things where they've talked about how energy could be, like wireless energy, seems to have been something that very well could have happened civilizations ago. They could have had a way to power a light bulb from a distance, like create power wirelessly.
Why Tesla was killed?
Yeah, so Tesla type inventions.
How pyramids were actually built?
So, yeah, so I'm going kind of more of what the pyramids are really versus what... anyway, we're going down a kooky path.
Well, it's not kooky. It's really not, but anyway.
But
it's history.
I don't even know where I was going with that.
Well, you were talking about heat. I think you were talking about that you were.
Oh, the hot house. So yeah. So I mean, the Earth ebbs and flows when it comes to temperatures, and I don't know that we're necessarily doing any worse for it now than we would have been, or versus what it has been in the past. I'm not opposed to. I'm changing gears on you. I'm not opposed to solar energy at all. I'm not opposed to clean energy. Well, the word clean energy is kind of an oxymoron anyway, but solar power, I think, could have some merit if we could source the materials we need
without slave labor.
In the United States. Like if we didn't depend on
slave labor.
slave labor or other countries. Because
are we okay with slave labor now because it's somewhere else?
No.
Okay.
I'm just saying because unfortunately, not only is it an earthbound thing, like we don't all work in conjunction with each other. Unfortunately, we have to work within the confines of our countries usually, or at least whomever our countries have. I don't want to say friendship with, or however you want to say that, so unfortunately we cannot do everything globally that we would necessarily want to do because we don't want to be dependent on China because China could just shut us off.
We don't want a one world government. A centralized government that just dictates what everybody should do around the world. I mean,
it depends on how that's built. That wouldn't necessarily be
I have found where you and I will probably likely do.
I don't know. I've never thought about it, to be honest with you. Okay. But if we could share resources globally, think about
what we do.
Well, to an extent, but think about what kind of power we might actually have if we could actually completely work together globally for a cause or work globally for an end result.
I think if people in mass could talk to each other like you and I are talking to each other and agree without Mao Zedong and all these different psychotic leaders over time, if people were just having conversations, say, what if we work together and we create an alliance and we do this together and governments didn't get in the way? I think that would be very possible. A decentralized idea network that could happen, but where the new world, the centralized one person or one group of people leading things, that's where you get global tyranny. That's where you get a vaccine push because you need this vaccine right now because the world's going to die if you don't. Like you give you give that power to any one person or did you just spit on the microphone?
I did just spit on the microphone. Sorry.
You give any one person or group of people that authority. That is a slippery slope downhill that you're never going to undo.
But our current government has that authority, and they're not going to do that. So I'm just saying, depending on the people you have in power, you could absolutely, possibly have a global government that could be good. They like, I don't know, maybe.
Let's not get into
maybe
this.
Good isn't the word, but I mean that could help.
maybe good. Maybe we're not gonna. Maybe we'll die faster. I don't know.
I'm just saying, if we could work together globally, like you said, kind of like you said, if we could work together globally, we could maybe eradicate cancer.
I think AI can bring that. I think you and I will be able to talk to two people in Russia, two people in China. We could have a talk right now where they're hearing us in their language. We're hearing them in our language, and we can just agree or disagree. And like, why is that over there? But I mean, China controls what people can say and who they can connect to over there. Like, we can't just go have that conversation with people.
That was the whole point of where I started, was that we can't be dependent on another country for the technology that we need or the resources that we need. But I think green energy in and of itself is kind of good. Like, I kind of wanted to go.
The moral argument is good.
I kind of wanted to go solar.
Yeah.
I thought that if I could go solar, and I no longer had to pay frickin' CenterPoint
or nuclear
thousands of dollars of not thousands, I don't know, $500, $600, $800
in a year.
In a year, year, thousands, absolutely. If there was a way for me to do that, maybe get in the if I had solar energy and I had more than, because unfortunately CenterPoint does not buy back energy
anymore. They used
to. Well,
for those that are young,
not CenterPoint didn't know. It was Vectren. It was when it was Vectren.
Same group.
Vectren did actually buy back, but CenterPoint does not. But I was thinking, so if I'm going to have this extra energy, and my home is completely taken care of already with the solar, then I'm going to go ahead and maybe buy a electric vehicle. That would be about the only way I would buy an electric vehicle, is if my solar could support my home and have extra.
You don't have to pay gas and all that stuff for your car.
Right. Yeah. So if that would happen, then great. Then 100%. I could get an electric car, and then I could power it with my solar and blah blah blah.
As long as you could get the panels and the equipment.
That's the problem.
To make everything cheap enough, to make it good enough that it pays for itself over time.
It can pay for itself over time, but the problem is the technology, the resources, everything is not of the United States.
Yeah, we're relying on people that don't like us.
Or alliances that we have.
100%.
Unfortunately, it is kind of Chinese controlled.
Yeah.
And that's my concern with it. And so it's really hard to want to go green or want to go solar when I put solar on my house and I get an electric vehicle or two electric vehicles, because my wife and I both need cars, and we get going and everything's great. And then something goes wrong and I need a couple new solar panels, and China says no.
Our new chip, one little bitty thing to manage all of that stuff.
Right, absolutely. And so now I no longer can. Well, if they decide they don't want to sell that to me,
and we can't make it.
And we can't make it. So now I have solar panels, but they no longer transfer energy to my battery system or whatever it might be.
It's an expensive shingle.
Yeah, exactly. It's an expensive roof that I have now that will shield me from the rain.
That hail could damage it
at any point. And so, that's the problem with trying this Green New Deal type thoughts that you were talking about, is that if we can't create it here, or one of our allies can't create it, then it's a problem, because maybe
AI helps us escape that. Maybe it'll Tesla. Maybe it'll give us the next Tesla. Like we are not in the right realm of physics, and we can solve an energy problem that we haven't even thought about in a way that we could solve.
Well, but the problem is going to be whether or not we have the ability to get the minerals, like just the core minerals, like the actual, like say the lithium or whatever it might be.
Well, they were saying I've heard the conspiracy side of things of the pyramids are basically an energy source. Have you heard that?
Not necessarily an energy source, but a transmission, an energy transmission system.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, how did they move 300-ton rocks from A to B?
Well, that's where I was talking about technology that has died over time.
That's what I mean. We just don't have it.
Where it's been destroyed, and it's been destroyed long enough that we cannot figure it out anymore. I think that they honestly, if we really want to go down this rabbit hole, I think they had the ability to levitate. I think they somehow had the technology to make
gravity or magnetic
systems or whatever it might be, either controlling gravity, magnetism, some type of physics situation that we cannot unlock right now. I think they probably had. 100%. And now I'm a conspiracy.
No. Well, you are, but conspiracy theories and theorists are actually science. So I mean that's good.
I mean, we were conspiracy theorists
before we knew
during
gravity.
COVID, and so
did you know that the Earth was actually the center of the universe?
Right. Oh, and I think
if you're a heretic, if you say that it's not, we will kill you.
Well, so have I talked to you about how everybody's taught? So this is going to be my little thing. Everybody's taught that the Earth just kind of goes around the sun like this, but really we're moving through the galaxy at thousands of miles an hour. So really, it's more like this kind of situation. Like, have I talked to you about that before?
Yeah, we talked about that.
That's a big. So I didn't think about that whenever I was in high school, whenever I was in college. The fact that not only do we gravity go around a sun, and not only does Venus and Mercury and everything else go around the sun, but the sun is also moving at miles an hour.
So why weren't we taught that?
I don't know. And we weren't taught that. We were taught in a 2D situation that we just kind of go around and that it's
going back
stationary.
to the beginning of our conversation with the dumbed down, the Frank Zappa conversation. Go right back to that. If you, as a potential future physicist, don't even have the bandwidth or the question in your head as to maybe this isn't, like, the model that we have is not accurate. Like, if you're not even given the groundwork to think that I have to question this with every ounce of my being for the rest of my life until I figure it out, that's where you get the Newtons. That's where you get the Einsteins. That's where you get the Teslas. Like, nothing was impossible. Nothing was written. We have to go figure it out. And and as it is, we're taught that this is just the way it is. And this is the way that everything
like a 2D situation where the sun's not moving and we're just kind of going around the sun. Yeah. That's how everybody's taught even today.
How is that not intentional? That's really sad to think about. It is super intentional because we know it's not true. And yet here we are, not even future scientists. Your daughter could become an astrophysicist or a physicist that thinks about things at a different level that you and I have never been given the basis to even think possible. AI can help with that, but we have to open up that door. We have to have that conversation.
We have to guard that door too, though.
It's super scary. So let's come back to a clip here, and because I want to wrap this segment up. What time is it? I haven't
I don't know.
I got
8.
Oh man, we are
5 after 8.
Wow, we're going. So this is one of my favorite guys here, Constantine. Trigonometry. If you ever have had a chance to listen to Trigonometry, it's really, really good. This guy is thinks differently from me. I disagree with him on a lot of things, but also he brings things like this that I think are super.
So what's a net zero watch?
Now this is that's a Facebook page. So this isn't a clip from them. This is just a clip that has been clipped by somebody else. So, but I wanted to give a shout out to Constantine for this statement, and it's just the dangers of quote unquote climate change and science. And how you and I have talked about, if you question the narrative, you're called names, you're basically become an outcast. You're not allowed to become a professor. The problem with professors and tenure is you have to think inside the box. And if you think outside of the box now, you're not allowed in the box. So that's the real problem that we have with restructuring. So let's listen to this.
And is there a mania now that's happening?
Climate change. I actually think climate change is on the ebb. But, the giveaway with climate change, I mean, I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of the science, but it's anything but settled. What the big red flag on climate change is you couldn't differ, right? You couldn't say a discouraging word. That will get you canceled. And if a political perspective does not admit any kind of criticism or debate, then it is not any longer a political perspective. It is a social hysteria. It is a mania.
And
so I think just from a buttoning it up perspective, like you and I could debate all day long or have a conversation all day long about what we think is right and wrong with science. It comes back to debates, conversations like this, people being open to acknowledging that we've been not told the truth, not just in vaccines of going just to the COVID vaccine. All vaccines are now kind of in the window of being questioned, and there's people that are pushing back on that, just like the people that pushed back on the COVID vaccines. Like COVID vaccines came out, people just jumped in line and said, you have to do this or everyone's going to die. And so
I had family that was excited about letting their toddler go into trials for the COVID vaccine. So, I mean, yeah.
So what is that about? Like, what caused that?
I hope that kid lives a long and healthy life.
Oh my gosh.
I have no idea.
I wish we were stronger and had enough voice that we could have protected more people. I mean, ultimately, that's kind of what the podcast is like creating. If this podcast or in our efforts don't become that, that's the teams of people that we need that are questioning everything at a level to just have the conversation. Have smart people on both sides. And if you have to rely on canceling me or disagreeing to a level that you hate me enough that you wish me dead, I'm not the problem.
It's true.
Right.
That's true.
I'm not the problem.
Yeah.
You need a mirror, probably. Like I hate the words or the ideas that come out of some people's mouths, but I don't hate the person because I think the idea came from somewhere else. It's not their idea. They just have bought into it's like your family. You still love your family that bought into that. You know, the kids should be in trials. They thought they were doing what was right. They thought they were. I haven't done anything in my life that is. People are going to look back and say, "Man, I'm so glad that they did that because it saved us from a smallpox or a plague or whatever." I mean, that's basically what they were lining up for. They didn't want another bubonic plague, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't know any better. They didn't question things.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
So it's not their fault, except for they weren't trained. They didn't listen. Like they didn't have that inquisitive thing, which is I think what we're trying to say is like I want to train my kids to be inquisitive to the point where it's annoying.
I love my daughter, but she can be annoying.
But we could beat that out of them, and I think
don't do that.
But I'm saying the generations that happened right after us, the younger. Where wokeism came from is like that differing of opinion got beaten out of people. Like you couldn't. You just got in it.
If you don't follow along.
If you don't follow along, you're canceled or you're.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that effectively that's where we are. And it's after 8. We got into some stuff. I had a whole nother thing. We didn't even really get into. I got a whole Jimmy Dore thing with the Candace and Charlie thing. Because there's all kinds of conversations that I don't know that anyone. How does the Columbus clip that you sent? How would that fit into where we are? Do you think you could?
It was just so yeah. No, that was just a clip about once again, kind of how you were talking about what you were taught versus what really happened. when I dug deeper into what that clip said, I thought, or I didn't think, but I mean, after I found out the information, I wondered why I wasn't taught more of what actually happened versus what history or what people try to act like happened. The fact that he didn't necessarily enslave all of the Indian population. He only came back to the Americas and found that his people had been cannibalized. And then at that point, he decided to have a quasi war against that tribe and then take slaves from that. Like back then, whenever you had war, the losing side usually became some type of slave. At that point, either
they were imprisoned in some way, shape, or form. They were taken out of circulation because they were dangerous, and they were going to kill. They were going to kill other people that came here, and so they were criminals.
Yeah,
effectively,
they were criminals, and they were either going to be they either died in the war or they were going to be slave labor or some type of slave situation. When I was in school, I was taught, or I don't know that I was taught, but I mean, I kind of understood that Christopher Columbus decided that the Indians were to be enslaved, but that wasn't actually what happened, and I didn't know that honestly until recently. I kind of saw that clip. I had seen that clip before, but I sent it to you, and I did a little more, or I did a deeper dive on what happened. And when you decide to go down, maybe not the rabbit hole, but to look at what really happened versus what has been stated in the mainstream or stated in your school when you were taught, they can be two very different things. And this clip that I showed, or that I sent to you, kind of showed that what we were taught about Christopher Columbus versus what really happened are kind of two different things. So I mean, I think that clip could be very beneficial for discussing reality versus what has been taught to you in a public school system, in kind of a liberalized public school system. I mean, I think most people think Christopher Columbus just came and enslaved the Indians. I think that's kind of the gist of it. He came. He decided. Sorry,
your noise.
Sorry, I'm
producer. I'm
clicking.
You're doing what you don't like everybody else.
I'm hitting the table for emphasis to let you know what's going on. Yeah, no. I was taught one thing, and then when you do a little deeper dive about what happened, the fact that Columbus came, he thought he was in the Indias. Whatever happened, one of the ships ran aground, and so he had to go back and let some of his people behind. When he came back, he realized that, or he didn't realize, but he saw that those people that he left behind had been killed and cannibalized by a different tribe than what they originally spoke to. They came and worked with that tribe to go find the tribe that had killed and cannibalized his men, and he did enslave those people, but he did not enslave the group that when he originally landed, that was great, that was really nice and taught them about the about the Americas and about agriculture and everything. You look at the Thanksgiving situation with Christopher Columbus and the Indians. It wasn't that tribe that he was enslaving. It was the tribe that killed and cannibalized his men that he enslaved. And part of that was due to the time at which he came. Whenever you were at war or whenever you had some type of physical altercation, I don't know, with another tribe, usually what happened was the losing side became either they died in the battle or they became enslaved.
The winners write their history books.
Oh, well, that's very true. And so, the clip I sent you was kind of talking about that, how the fact that Columbus came, he landed, he met a tribe that was very nice.
They were cannibals. And
No. He met a tribe that was very nice that taught him about agriculture of the area, who was friends with Columbus and his men and everything. Sure. Columbus then left, came back, realized that some of his men that he left behind had been killed, had been cannibalized. Well, that was due to a different tribe who also killed and cannibalized the original tribe that he came back to. Sorry, I'm sitting here doing this.
Still doing it.
I am doing
Stop thumping.
Who came back and cannibalized the tribe, or his men, and the tribe that was friendly to his men and his cause. And so then he came, and then he did enslave those folks, but he did not enslave every Indian who really he only called Indian because he thought he was in India or one of the surrounding countries. Sure. But he did not necessarily enslave everybody. He only enslaved the cannibals, really.
So rather than sharing the clip, because I think you just basically outlined.
Yeah, I talked about the whole thing. But if
I mean, so the clip. So I don't know when your pure exit time, but I
don't have one.
There's two more clips. We can listen to this one. It's about 3 minutes long. We can listen to that if you want.
Sure.
If you got time, and because I do have one more short clip that I want to end with. So let's talk about let's listen to this one. I'll respond to what you said and to the clip after I've heard it. I don't think I listened to this whole one.
How do you think we should teach about Christopher Columbus?
Understanding the context makes a very big difference, because if you go back to the 1400s and look at Christopher Columbus, we know he's Italian, but he's sailing for the Spanish, and part of his endeavor, having these 3 ships, is he's going to go find a quicker trade route. A couple of things to note. Spain was one of the noted slave traders in the North Atlantic slave trade at that time, but this was not unique for Spain. This is the way of the world at that time. This is not to offer justification saying it was right. So when Columbus first lands in the New World, thought he was in India, Indonesia, so somewhere different than where he actually is, but he calls them Indians, these natives that live on these islands. The first group he meets are the Taino, and they're a great tribe. They have good relationships. It's not until really his second voyage he comes back and he encounters a second tribe, the Caribs, the Caribs, also known as the cannibals, where we get the word cannibal in English from, goes back to them, because not only were they a warring tribe, they were a cannibalistic tribe. And this was the first interaction where Columbus ever approved the enslaving of any indigenous people. But when he did it, it was only after he lands on one of the original islands. They had left some men behind because one of their ships had run aground and they couldn't take everybody with them. And they went to find the men that were left behind, and they find their bodies on the beach and they've been cannibalized. And you can imagine the trauma of finding some of your men, maybe even some of your friends, and they're not just dead, they've been cannibalized. And he goes to try to find the Taino and says, what happened? And they say, it wasn't us. In fact, that same tribe, they attacked us. They took some of our people hostage and captive, and they join with Columbus to go find this other tribe that did it. When they find the Cannib tribe, they attack them, and after they have conquered this village, at that time, there's only 2 options for survivors. And I'm not saying this again as a justification. This is a reality of history in the 1400s. If one people group attacks another people group, at the end of the war, the survivors on the losing side, either you are killed or you are enslaved. That was the way the world was. So to say that Columbus approved of slavery, well, he did. There were some context and parameters around it. The way that the narrative is told today is he just enslaved all the natives. Well, that's not correct, because he didn't enslave the Taino the way that the Caribs were. What's so remarkable is to see how a perfect God used imperfect people to accomplish really significant things that ultimately did change the world in really positive directions. If we just ask some basic questions, a lot of the accusations against America and the founding fathers would disappear because we were asking honest questions.
And one more thought about Columbus. Across the world, more than 600 statues have been erected to Christopher Columbus. Now, the only person I know with more than that is statues of Jesus. But that puts Columbus in really elite breath of air. Didn't they understand how bad this guy was? No, because they had a whole lot more history. They had a better perspective. They understood the context. And so to take the little bit that we know today, to put it in an agenda and to try to impress on somebody, you're rejecting all of history, all the experts of history throughout the last several hundred years that have come up with different conclusions. What makes us so much smarter than everybody else?
So before that last guy went on his summary of what the other guy said and what the video said, I wrote context down. And so that was kind of what I pulled from the first part of it, is like our history classes and what we're like, the whole slavery, where we are with reparations and all this, kind of to just bring it back to a point, is there has to be context to the conversations that we're having. And the weaponized virtue signaling and the weaponized things that are indoctrinated into our systems and our institutions change history. And, you know, another AI problem that I have is stuff like history being rewritten and then AI learning from it. And that's forever forward what everybody believes. Whereas this questions the history that you and I, probably not what you and I were taught, because we were more traditional conservative, I would say. Columbus was a good guy. He I think I was taught.
Yeah, I was taught yeah.
But I didn't know the cannibal story in context. I didn't know that. I didn't know there was good people where they landed that they had great relationships with, and then he landed in a different city or state. There's no city or states, but he landed in a different area, and they're like crazy cannibals. They're killing each other, eating people that show up. So of course, like if you want law and order, you're not going to allow these people to run run with your family and friends and kill them and eat them, right? So I mean, there's context to that, and it's not So I don't really have anything to say about the video except to say we have to have context to the history, and we have to have open conversation and debates about what really happened versus what we were taught has happened.
Yeah, I mean, all I really have to say is that, like you said, I think what we're taught versus the full picture of what happened are two different things. And that may be due to, as you said earlier, that kind of the education system has been sort of, I don't know about taken over, but it's sort of more of a left.
Captured is the word that I use.
Okay.
And
it's been captured
fully been captured
by more of a leftist view.
You're saying that very nicely, but it is absolutely.
I'm trying to be nice.
Captured. It's captured by a leftist view.
Trying to be a nice guy.
Okay.
Here. Okay. Anyway, so I don't recall ever being told about the second.
The second
voyage and coming back.
I don't remember ever hearing that.
No, not at all. Why was I never taught that? Why was I only taught about the kind of the first bit of that?
Why weren't you given context?
Exactly. And that, I don't necessarily want to point a finger. I going back, I think that I'm going to probably get some talking to about this, but I feel like anybody who leans right normally will kind of take anything said by somebody else and actually digest it and think about it and think, hey, maybe this is an accurate, or maybe this point of view has a little bit of pull. I think going the other direction, unfortunately, and I am more Republican than I am Democrat. Where you said you're kind of in the middle and you're currently right leaning because the left is a little crazy right now. I am more of a Republican.
Or a lot crazy.
Yeah, well, I think that, the fact that the education system has kind of been taken over by more left-leaning individuals or it's being, the teachings are being created by more left-leaning individuals. Maybe the teacher themselves aren't left-leaning or whatever it might be, I think that we're not given the full picture. And I think any which way we go, I think the full picture should be given, and then we can then
People
decide.
Who are
Whoa,
sorry.
Easy. Don't interrupt me. I think that we should be given the full picture and decide whatever we want to decide. And I don't think that's currently happening in education. I think in education, they're only the kids or the young adults or whatever are only being given the information that the system wants to give them, and I think that's where we're at.
So anyway, just to summarize and to land, I think that you summarized that was perfect. What I want to end on is how things have changed with pride in America and our country versus where we are now with how our youth and kids have been basically indoctrinated to think or believe that because they're a certain color or a certain sex or a certain religion, or they are...
I'm a straight white man. I'm an asshole.
They're proud of the fact that they're an American. Like our kids have been at some level, not necessarily in the school that they're in. Some schools are better than others, but just generally, like the leftist perspective to me has said, if you don't buy into our virtue signaling, you are evil, you're bad,
Nazi.
If you think nationalism is good, meaning you want America to be strong and to be better than it's ever been. And when I say make America, I don't like the term "Make America Great Again" because I feel like we didn't fully get to our potential. I think for the last 100 years, when JFK died, I think we went way off track. I will say that every day. I'll have that debate with whoever wants to sit down with me, and I'll have it in depth. I think we went way off track, and I consider myself more liberal, classic liberal, because of the JFK, the things that he said, the things that he believed. Between JFK, MLK, and RFK, which is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s dad, they were killed, in my opinion, because they wanted to have conversations similar to Charlie Kirk.
I think they wanted to bring everybody together.
They wanted to bring everybody together without government and without power structures, and with what they wanted people to unite and be proud of their First Amendment rights and their Second Amendment, all the rights that we've been given as Americans that people all around the world don't have, that can fall prey to tyranny in moments. Go to Canada, go to Australia, go to any of these things. Whenever the vaccine COVID thing hit, these people were locked down. Police state happened rapidly.
Like I remember Canada, like churches,
trucker strike, and all that.
Well, people going to church. Do you remember that? There were churches that were busted in, that were like doors were kicked in, like they were a drug house or something. Like doors, and people were arrested for gathering for church,
for uniting.
Anyway,
for uniting. So that at the end of the day, that's what the podcast, to me, this whole podcast is about questioning the things that we hear, uniting with people that we may not agree on a lot of things with, but under the guise of we can do better, we can talk about things and disagree and try to make it better. And so this last clip, I think it pulls things together so perfectly, and like a story, a lesson that I want you to remember to give to your daughter and to any future kids that you might have or grandkids. The lesson that I'm pretty sure my kids understand is it's not about the pride in the American flag as we have done everything perfectly right all the time. And I think we've done things less perfectly right over the since JFK died, because we've allowed the government and to bureaucrats to marginalize, segment, and divide us from having the actual conversations that help us over, and that goes through education, that goes through all the weaponized institutions that I try to pinpoint as much as possible. Let's listen to this clip real quick. You can give me your point, and I think we can probably shove off out of here pretty quick.
People with flags in their bio are now very upset about people flying the English or the British flag. It's incredible.
It's the wrong flag. Flags are okay.
Yeah.
It's that flag.
And it's one of the things I actually love about just literally physically arriving in the US. Every building's got a giant American flag on it, right? And it's the flag of the country. That's great. I think I'm all down for that. But it's a proxy for these tensions that are bubbling under the surface. And so to the elite class, the appearance of England flags everywhere is like, oh, the racists are now trying to blah, blah, blah. When I think the reality is it's a reassertion of Britain's national identity and an attempt to say, actually, there is such a thing as British culture, and there is such a thing as Britain.
What's the flag argument really about?
The flag argument is really about the idea that you're not supposed to be proud of your country.
Why is that?
Because your country is a piece of shit. It did slavery, it did colonialism, it did this, it did that. And so you're supposed to apologize for the rest of eternity. And that's why you must have the Palestinian, Ukrainian, and as you know, I'm a big supporter of Ukraine, but nonetheless, that is not the flag of this country. You've got to have the Palestinian, Ukrainian, trans, etc. flags everywhere, as long as it's not the flag of your country, because your country is a piece of shit. That's what this is really about. And the reason people are now using it in an act of defiance is saying, actually, no, fuck you. My country is not a piece of shit. I love my country. I should love my country. You should love our country. And if you don't love our country, maybe you should go to another country.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, he said that from Europe.
Yeah.
Which is much more under attack than we are from a free speech perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead. Agreed. Sorry to cut you off.
No, I was just saying agreed. I think that the U.S. used to be the number one at everything. I know that they are. I realize we are no longer the best at this, the best at that, the best at everything else. I would love for us to get back to the point where we are the best at, and I think we do have the ability to be the best of everything. But so I'm going to digress a little bit. I'm going to go back to, I've got a really good buddy who's in the Air Force. really great. I mean, one of my best friends. And, you know, they salute the flag, you know, at the beginning of the day, they salute the flag at the end of the day. They are, ultimately they are the United States, you know, they are the country, and I support them. I support the country. I support everything that they do because I live in this country, and I think that we have the ability to be the best country. I know that we're not. I don't know who the best country would be. Well, we're not as good as we could be. I don't think there's any country that's better than us. Generally. But give me one, and I can give you very quick. Well, no, generally stating, maybe you are correct, but I'm more talking about when it comes to rankings of mathematics, rankings of like
education,
education,
that's because we've been
or
indoctrinated.
economics, or whatever it might be. I know that we're not necessarily number one, and there is a really great clip. There is a show called is it called The Newsroom? I don't know. Jeff Daniels. Where he talks about how we are no longer the greatest country, and because we rank, we rank here for this, we rank here for that, we rank whatever it might be. We are no longer the greatest country, and somebody who's very patriotic, I think we are the greatest country. Kind of like what you just said. We have the potential easily to be the greatest country. Easily, very absolutely, because we have the freedom to talk about it. We have the freedom to push back on each other. And most countries and most people do not have that. If we were in China or it for the government. If we were in China or North Korea right now, we would probably have people outside your front door currently sniping because we are making this podcast. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. That's my point. Is just why we're better is because we can disagree. But you're right. From a statistical perspective, more statistical, like mathematics, we could be doing better. We could be manufacturing. We could do better. We could better build more chips. Yeah, there were a few different things that Jeff Daniels hit, and if you do the research on what he said, I believe it's from a show called The Newsroom. Yeah, that sounds right. Is that right? Yeah. If you do the research on what he's talking about and the different statistics that he says, it's accurate. It's unfortunately, we are no longer the best at math. We are no longer the best at this, the best at that. Like you said, we may very well be the greatest country because of the Constitution, or having our amendments, or having our rights, or whatever it might be, being able to question our government, all of those kind of things. But I think we have the ability to. We definitely have the ability to be the best again. I think what really helped us was at World War II, the war was not fought on our land. It destroyed a lot of the other lands, and it allowed us to kind of become the prime country. It allowed us to do all of the manufacturing, do all of the, we did not have to try to rebuild from the damage, where Great Britain had to try to rebuild. We could have the industrial age because we didn't have destruction. Correct. To fix before we created the industrial age. Right. And I'm not going to lie, I have no idea where I was going with this, but ultimately, I don't know that we're necessarily the best country, but I think we have the ability to be the best country. I know he was talking about flags and everything. I love, when I went to grade school, we had the Pledge of Allegiance. I may have to ask my daughter whether or not they do that now, but I know it seems very North Korean to be like, the flag and the United States and the blah, blah, blah. And we're, going to support everything that our country does. But I think I'll let you get back on your rant. But no, I am ranting. What I will say is you have to have a society that's going towards something. You have to have a uniting message of some sort. If you just... So this is the argument versus religious versus non-religious, ideology versus ideology, flag versus no flag, is if you have just people out in the world, everyone doing their own thing, everyone is their own God and everyone is their own thing, and it's revolves around me. It's all me-isms. You don't, like, if you're just out doing your thing and you're living your best life and you're, in your own sphere, there's nothing that's overlapping anything between you and me to make us work together towards making our country better, unless it's money related, unless we're just driven by money and we want more stuff. And so, like, the idea of America and why people left
the safety of where they were was because there was the potential for freedom and something actually better. Like they realized that the monarchies and the authoritarian regimes, or wherever, any country that you go to, they had their things that they obviously didn't love their country enough to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very smart people. They were very driven people. They were willing to sacrifice everything and bring their treasures. And so, like, we don't understand that, because America is the best because there's nobody really trying to escape. Like, the only people that are leaving America right now are the people that are being forced out because they came illegally.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are criminals. And so I don't want to have that conversation and debate right now.
No,
but
I would think that we probably are the most
nobody's
migrated country. Everybody wants to come here. Yeah,
I don't see a lot of people. I'm trying to escape to Canada.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not going to South America.
I really
Korea.
like, I really like El
to.
Salvador. I like, if I had to escape to somewhere right now, it probably would be El Salvador. But it's only because they're a Bitcoin economy. But at the end of the day, they're, like, for me, the reason why I say America is the best is because I don't know anyone trying to escape to any other country.
That's true.
Or risking their life to do that. And so, like, until there's that thing, then I can say, okay, well, there's an argument to be had here. But at the end of the day, my point just comes back to, you're right, mathematically, statistically, there's a lot of areas we've fallen behind. I think most of that is because of centralized government and terrible education. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
We have the ability to rebuild that fairly rapidly.
I hope.
We need to unite with the right people and talk to the right people.
The problem's going to be is the alignment of those people. I mean, the fact, sorry, I heard something weird. The fact that
motorcycles.
Yeah, it was just a motorcycle speeding down the road that I would love to throw a can of corn at.
Probably right in front of your house.
Yeah, in front of my every day. I really want to sit out there with a bunch of cans of, like, vegetables.
You should have pulled up your video. Should have pulled up your camera. It probably was him speeding by your house right there.
I would throw so many cans of corn, and it's mostly motorcyclists. But anyway, shoot, I don't even know where I was going with that. What were we talking about? I'm lost due to the
America's
motorcyclists.
pretty good.
You know, it is.
We can make it better. It's not make America great again. To me, is a shortcoming of make America better than it's ever been, and that's not 4 letters or 5 letters that makes it really easy. I truly believe, pull Trump out of the whole equation, the conversation we're having about just having honest conversations, having honest debate, agreeing on things, uniting on things, moving forward with great ideas is how we make America better than it's ever been.
Healthy debate.
Healthy debate.
I said that at the very beginning. Healthy debate. If we could...
Should we just had a 3-minute conversation and we said, healthy debate. Go do it. The end.
The end.
We would have just saved people.
Thanks for the show. Thanks for watching the show, guys. It just, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but yeah, I miss the time. Well, multiple things. I miss the time when we could have healthy debate. I think that healthy debate would help the country and its grip on being the best, or whatever you might want to say.
A path towards being the best.
I don't think the Declaration, I don't think the Constitution, I don't think any of those things were written or signed, by everybody following the leader. Like, everybody wasn't just, that guy said that, okay, let's all follow it. No, I think there was a lot of debate.
They would fight each other in the...
I got the hiccups.
Yeah, they would fight each other with blade and blood. I mean, our founders, it was not always fun debate.
Yeah.
And that's where we're more civilized now. You're officially in the hiccup zone. So
I fucking hate hiccups. God, I hate hiccups.
Okay. So he's not going to self-censor his hiccups. So we're going to wrap up this conversation today. So here's what I think you and I should do with our ongoing you and I conversations is try to find...
I'll try not to be in the microphone.
Try to find things that we really disagree on. If I were the sound guy, I would kill your mic right now.
Yeah, I know. I just can't get to the board right now.
You're on the wrong side of the board.
Yeah.
So I think we should find some things maybe that are important enough for us to talk about and disagree on, and have the debate and the conversation. Because I don't know what we're so far apart on. I think the one world government thing probably is one of the things that we could probably disagree.
That's never going to happen.
Well, but that's the effort. Like that. Well, that's why I think AI is a threat to one world governance. I mean, I think that actually is a real problem. But anyway, let's. I think this podcast was fantastic. I think you and I have raised some things, and hopefully, the people that are listening, and if you have hiccups, Travis should have came to the show with the solution to hiccups. If Dr. Roy was here, we could show a clip.
No,
on
he'd probably
the
try
best way to
shoot
solve
me
hiccups
or something. I don't know. That's how you get rid of hiccups. Shoot somebody in the face.
How to get hiccups? Quit breathing.
Yeah, stop breathing.
Quit. End the show right now, and Travis hiccups will end.
Anyway, yeah, no, great show. I would love for the I would love for the U.S. to be the greatest country.
Push the microphone away. I'll end the segment.
All right, you end the segment. I'm done. Have a good night.
I love you guys. This has been a great conversation. Thanks, Travis, for as always. I would love to do this on a regular basis, maybe once a month. I think we could just sit down and have some great conversations and maybe agree and disagree a little more. Bring the clips that you think you might rile me up a little bit, and I'll bring the clips that I think will rile you up a little bit. And we agree to disagree on some things at some point. But for any of you that have made it through this entire podcast and are still enjoying it, we are receiving contributions from several people now that are helping us to expand our podcasts. Maybe we're going to come up with a cure for hiccups along the way. I don't know. We might not. But I love you all. Thanks again for tuning in, and see you next time.
Have a good night. See you guys. Yeah.